Yes, neither rain nor sleet nor the horrible hangover that I'm currently enjoying will stop the RageSelect podcast from being a podcast for RageSelect fans. So welcome back, everybody, to the aforementioned RageSelect podcast. Here at RageSelect, I'm Jeff.
Hi, I'm Bryce. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Bryce.
Hi.
My hangover actually isn't that bad. I'm mostly just sleepy. I've gotten pretty good over the years at hangover mitigation. So, yeah.
Do you take those? Aren't they like, was it like a pill that you take while you're drinking that helps you not have a hangover? Does those work?
I don't know. I've never tried them, and I'll tell you why. Because they seem too good to be true, and when a thing seems too good to be true, I'm like, it's going to come out that you get like severe liver damage if you take these, right? Like something's got to be wrong with this. It's like, yeah.
I like to think you're just a purist. No, I have to have my pain. I must hang over.
Yes, I'm not really very religious, but I am very Catholic when it comes to hangovers. I'm like, if you do the crime, you got to do the time.
You simply got to do the time.
Yeah. We got a big podcast this week. I got to be honest. This is no good theme. This is a real potpourri week. Sometimes we have like a direct. Sometimes we have like an Xbox. Blah 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 blah. This week it's all random. I got all the stories ready, and I looked through them. And I said, "What was the most important story of last week?" And it was like, none. I'm like, okay, great.
Everything calmed down for the summer.
Yes. So yeah, but before we get to that, Bryce, have you, as the first question of all podcasts, have you been watching anything? You've been playing anything? You've been doing anything interesting recently?
Good question. I forgot that this is like the way that you start the show every week. I've like got a new setup. I got a new desk a while ago, and I moved my PlayStation over here. So now like my console, instead of being at my TV, is like at a desk because I can mount my steering wheel to it. And the pedals will still work fine. And it's kind of out of the way. And like, do you ever have, because your whole setup is, you've got a really nice like gamer like cave going on where like you have like, if you want to be at a keyboard and mouse, you still got a big monitor. If you want to be on the couch, you got a big monitor. Like, do you feel like you have a preference on those modalities?
I always joke a little bit that like I have a 2-bedroom condo, and it's got like a living room and a dining room and a kitchen and all that stuff. And I spend 99% of my life in this chair in my office in front of my 2 giant like monitors on arms and my big OLED TV with my PlayStation and everything. And like I have a whole, I have a TV downstairs.
Not up there. You got the entire setup.
Yeah, I have one chair, and it's like that that meme where men will post their apartments on Reddit, and it's like a lawn chair pointed at a television. I basically just got like the fancy version of a lawn chair pointed at a television.
No, I mean your home is furnished.
Ish. I don't like stuff. People will try to give me like a friend of mine gave me, Darksiders. He got this thing that was like a Strife from Darksiders, this little statue, and I was like, thanks. But inside I was like, oh man, I have to like put this somewhere, and then it's gonna have like dust collect on it, and I'm gonna look over. I recently got new blinds installed. I took everything off of this windowsill in my house, and there's just nothing, and it's sparse, and I'm like, yes.
You're like Bender. You want to like live in the closet.
Yes.
That closes like 1 inch in front of your face.
Well, if you got a bunch of crap, then you gotta clean it, and more crap accumulates, and once you
that is true. No, you're right. Junk does accumulate. Like I've been like cleaning, and now I'm like realizing like, oh, I'm kind of like a little over furnished at my apartment. Like I've got a chair issue. I've got an old office chair that I don't use very much, and these like wooden IKEA chairs, but I don't really have like space for them. And I just added this new desk into the mix, so my total like my footprint is even bigger. And now I'm like playing musical chairs every day of like, oh well, maybe if I put these chairs over here, then my walkability is better over here. But if I get this chair over here, then when I go and smoke weed, I can just like sit right here and like it's perfect. But then if I have to sit here, then I gotta have 2 chairs in the bathroom. I barely need the 1 chair in the bathroom. You know, it's maybe the worst economic period of history to be doing this improv bit, but you know what? I'm trying, Jeff. I'm trying it.
Okay. All right. Well, I recommend throwing everything away. Every time I have a problem, the solution is throw more stuff away.
I just got fake plants. You should try that.
No, that's stuff. You're telling me more stuff.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, okay, sure, dust, maybe, but you're not dealing with dirt. You're not dealing with these things dying. Now I got greenery. Look, there's like greenery in front of my TV. It's beautiful. I'm getting my greens, Jeff. This is a replacement for vegetables if I tell myself.
Can't you just find on Netflix a show like a Planet Earth and then just freeze frame on a picture of a tree, and there you go. You got greenery in your house. It's in 40 inches. It's in OLED. It's in HDR, 4K plants.
Those need to be the next like Apple TV screensavers. It's like ficuses and ferns.
Yeah, they have that. They have those Yule logs. Why not just like? It looks like I have a nice living room wallpapers that I can put up.
Yes. This is going to save home decor magazines. That's going to be how they live on.
Well, then you don't have to buy a lot of stuff. You just need to buy more TVs. And no one's ever said,
more screens.
I don't have enough TVs. I need more TVs. No one's ever been like, another TV. That sounds like a terrible idea. So
sometimes when I'm bored and my brain is quiet, I think to myself, yes, I've done it. I've given myself unlimited screen time. Oh, no.
I'm just lucky that I'm old enough that I'm just like, I'm tired of my phone. I don't like my phone. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it anymore.
I love losing my phone. When I turn around and realize I've left my phone in my car for the last 3 hours, I'm so fucking ecstatic. I'm happy. It's like my credit rating goes up, my blood pressure goes down. It's incredible.
Excellent. Well, I tell you what, I watched a movie last night. I actually watched 2 movies last week, but I only want to talk about one of them right now. So I've been waiting for a long time, and I finally watched The Boy and the Heron.
Miyazaki.
Yeah, Hayao Miyazaki's movie from last year. It finally came out on VOD. I've been waiting for it for a long time. I like his stuff. I haven't seen all of it. I haven't seen the one with the jets, the wind or whatever it is, and like I haven't been in love with everything he's ever made. Like I thought Ponyo was like okay, really nice water animation, but I don't know. He's definitely got like a shtick. Like The Boy and the Heron is about like a young man during World War II, and his mother passed away and his father is remarrying, and there's a strange heron that keeps coming into his life, and does he follow it into this strange world? I'm starting to understand though that there's a lot of I don't know if it's, I don't even need to go back and look at the other stuff, but after having watched a lot of like YouTube videos about Japan and kind of having a lot more exposure to like different parts of Japanese culture than just like anime, I realized that there was a lot of symbolism in The Boy and the Heron that I probably wasn't getting. I mean, just the fact that it's set during World War II, the father is like manufacturing like the cockpit glass for like airplanes, and that's kind of part of the story. That there's probably some war stuff and attitudes in Japan about war going on with some of the characters in there. It was interesting though. I mean, like
pre-war Japan and post-war Japan were very different. Like,
yes.
And so telling that story from, a Japanese perspective means that even your historical reference point is totally different.
Right. It's kind of like when I watched Godzilla -1, right? And I feel like I hadn't seen this particular portrayal of like complicated feelings, but then also I've started to, there's a YouTube channel called Moon Channel that I really like that does a lot of this kind of cultural examination stuff, and they just did one talking about how Japan projects soft power out, like with their cultural exports, to like make the rest of the world kind of view them from a very specific like cultural lens of just like, oh wow, it's kooky and it's anime and it's cute and stuff, but that there's like this really deep kind of martial undertone to the older people in Japan who really want to see like a resurrection of Japan as like an empire and stuff. And so I don't know, on a surface level, it was basically just like, here's another Hayao Miyazaki, something with a kid. There's a lot of magical stuff, very interesting imagery, some really breathtaking, kind of shots. I do feel like I might want to go back and watch it again, because I feel like there was something else going on under the surface that maybe, like, I think that we can all kind of understand, like when we watch Princess Mononoke, that's kind of about industrialization and nature and that sort of thing. But I think that there was something going on in The Boy and the Heron that was a little bit deeper, and it's possible I might not even be able to get it because it's like a cultural thing, and I was fucking born and raised in Texas, right? Like there's only going to be so much that you can glean from context, but
yeah, but that gives you something, that gives you like a next thing to look into, like whether it's watching it a second time or looking up someone's analysis of it. I mean, it's you've been given quite a shiny little jewel to dust off.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why, but it didn't occur to me to be like, I bet there's some video essays about this. I bet if I went and typed in Boy and the Heron analysis that I could probably find some people talking about it. So
20 things you didn't notice in The Boy and the Heron.
Well, that's the problem, though, is that, like, there's some of these new YouTube videos. I don't know how you feel about this, Bryce, but there's people that are just like, the end of The Sixth Sense explained. And I'm like, I don't need that explained. It was very clear what happened at the end of The Sixth Sense. It was all spelled out for me. Or even weirder, it'll be like, the end of Top Gun Maverick explained. And I'm like, who needs an explanation of the end of Top Gun Maverick? Like,
I think, what it is like, yes, you and I both know how The Sixth Sense ends because we were alive in the decades around that movie coming out. But like there are younger like the Kendrick Lamar had that big song, and it started with that. It had that sample, or maybe just someone saying "I see dead people" at the beginning of it, and so suddenly you have 10-year-olds and 16-year-olds who don't know what The Sixth Sense is and need to look it up and go, "What is The Sixth Sense?" And at some point, like. Someone made a YouTube video that's 5 minutes long and says, yeah, it was this, but it was all
yeah.
No, I'm not talking about it.
Anybody who's listening to this doesn't know what happens at the end of The Sixth Sense. I got to tell you, based on my
in school, then.
sense of humor, your cultural references, I don't know. This is the podcast for you. The RageSelect podcast, episode 255, explained, the ending explained. Yeah, anyway, Boy and the Heron, it was worth a watch, especially if you like Miyazaki. I mean, like, it definitely is less slam bang than a lot of, modern shonen anime is very, I'm watching My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. Those are just like a mile a minute pulpy, oh my God, I can't believe what just happened. Holy shit, that thing just exploded. It's, it's
action.
It's a lot more kind of, it's quieter. Like it takes almost a third of the movie for anything kind of to get happening, as we're just kind of like laying groundwork and stuff. But it was interesting. I don't know if it was my favorite of his stuff. I don't know. Do you have a favorite Miyazaki movie?
I've only seen a few, so I mean, it would probably be Spirited Away, only because like I saw that in the theaters, and it was like a very like seminal piece of anime for me. It was like the one. There was I couldn't see Evangelion or much like that. Was like the big thing. I mean, when you talked about anime, that was the one. So and I do like that one. And I honestly haven't seen too much of his other work, so I feel like that's kind of like a blind spot for me a little bit.
I've seen a lot of his work, and I'd say Spirited Away is probably the best one in terms of just like it's such a feast with all the different creatures and situations and stuff that's happening that like it's a joy to watch. You turn it on and you're just like, oh man. So Well, speaking of Miyazaki's, let's shift over to gaming news and start with.
Is that why you watched that movie so that you could have that segue?
I'm not answering that question. I'm not answering any questions about my segues. Shadow of the Erd Tree came out last week, and there's been a little bit of kind of kerfuffle about it. First off, we got a big launch trailer for it. The launch trailer is actually a little bit, it's funny. I saw some people on the subreddit. I've been on the subreddit all last weekend of people talking about, there's spoilers in the trailer, and yeah, I guess. But if you're, I don't know, I think it's one of those things where if you're the sort of person that gets really bent out of shape by Elden Ring spoilers, you probably have already played / beaten. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't make that assumption. People have jobs and children and stuff. Like, not everybody's able to get in there. I just think that like the super fans are probably already on their 4th playthrough of this thing. So, and
this trailer, like, as a non-Elden Ring guy, this trailer, and I'm not listening to it, seems bad. This doesn't look like a great trailer, but like the game's out, you just got to put something out. It's DLC, whatever.
I think part of it is the not hearing it really does it a disservice, because they have really good music and really good voice acting, and there's like a lot of, I don't know. It also depends on how deep you are into Elden Ring, as there's a lot of like crazy stuff going on in here. So
he smashed the ball. Ooh, what if it was my nuts?
Anyway, just briefly before you start getting into the news, I did finish it. I think it was really good. Yeah, I needed 48 hours to recover, because I spent like several days just nothing but eating and sleeping and playing Elden Ring. And I think there are a couple things that I didn't see, but I saw, I'd say, a good 95% of what was in the DLC, and
Do you think it holds up?
Oh, definitely, 100%. I mean, I would actually, Dark Souls 3's DLC was a little iffy. Like, I didn't care as much for that as I did for other, like Dark Souls 1 DLC, great. Bloodborne DLC, great. Dark Souls 2 DLC, okay. 3 DLC, probably the weakest in my opinion. This was great. It was also really interesting in that it's like a whole different, well, first off, they lied. They said that it was about the size of the opening area, and that's a lie. It's like 5 of the opening areas stacked on top of each other. It's a very vertical DLC. But without going into it too much, it was great. There was a lot of good challenges, interesting bosses, interesting like lore and revelations, stuff that tied back into the main story. The big meme for Souls games is that they put out a DLC to like answer questions, and then they don't answer any of the questions. They just raise new questions, whereas this actually did tie into the story a little bit.
Is it done? Does it leave room for another DLC, or is that a spoiler?
They've come out and said, like, this is it. We're not doing any additional DLCs. In fact, there's a big interview with Miyazaki that we're going to be talking about a few different things from in the news stories here. But I've read a lot of that stuff, and I get the impression that he's just like, whatever we do next is not going to be this sized. That this was a huge undertaking, and even making a DLC for it was a colossal endeavor, as opposed to the DLCs and stuff that we've made in the past. We're probably going to try something else for a little while before we consider doing something. Like he straight out came out and said, this is about as big of a game as I want to make. Like, I don't ever want to make anything bigger than this. And I probably want to start maybe pulling back to be a little bit smaller. So, yeah.
Wait, so okay. So yeah, if there is future DLC, it would be smaller than this. Otherwise, they would just move on to another game, is what you're saying.
Well, no, he has explicitly said there will be no DLC outside of this one. This is the only one.
Okay. But you made it sound like he's getting out the game. I'm retiring.
Well, there's some. Okay, there's well, this isn't particularly in the news story, but in reading some of the responses, it sounds like he wants to start, because he went from being like the head dev on this stuff to the CEO of Fromsoft, and like he's still intimately involved in making every game that they've made. Like, he was the lead on Elden Ring, he was the lead on Armored Core, he's the lead on the Elden Ring DLC, and I think from reading between the lines that he wants to start to kind of back up a little bit to let some of these other projects projects bloom with other people, so that he doesn't have to be hands-on with every one of them. He doesn't have to be the director of every game that FromSoft puts out, which I can only imagine after, what has it been, like 20 years, that he's got to be tired of heading up every big successful thing that they put out. Anyway, they came out and said that the Shadow of the Erdtree sold 5 million copies in less than its first week, which, considering that's more than that's big. It's like, to put it in perspective, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC sold about 4.3 million copies, and that's since its launch. So it's sold less than this DLC in the entire time that it's been out, which has been like 8 months or something like that. They also said that it's got like it's got about a 25% attach rate. So about 25% of the people that own Elden Ring bought the DLC, which is apparently very big in DLC terms. Like 20% is considered to be a rousing success. So 25% is a pretty big number. I was kind of interested to learn that stat, where I was like, oh, I didn't realize that DLC had that low of a rate, or even an expectation of people that bought the game. We're only going to get 20%, which I guess maybe explains why DLC a lot of times is a little bit more isn't as huge, it doesn't have as much work, or doesn't seem to have as much work put into it as the main product.
Sure. I mean, I never buy DLC or expansion packs for games ever. Like, usually when I get a game and I'm done with it, I want to move on to something else, which is why the move to like a lot of post-launch campaigns is really annoying, because I don't want to buy battle passes or buy like, if there was something like that for Armored Core, I would think about it, but I would have to think about it. Even though I loved Armored Core, I had to really think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how uphill of a climb it is, I think.
I think that with Armored Core, I mean, I don't know if they follow the traditional Armored Core model. It would be
as a hypothetical.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, for something I also really loved and dug into and like binged.
Yeah.
And went 100%. I mean, outside of like the franchise of it all, but like,
you just want to be one and done. You want to do the thing, be done with the thing, and then the thing is over.
Yeah. Like I played the Case of the Golden Idol, a month or so ago, and I loved it. And I think I don't think I have the DLC for it, but I would love it. I know I would love it. It looks great. It's more of that game that I fucking loved. And even then, that $8, just for whatever reason, because I don't know if, like, will they be as good as the main game? Will they be as big? Will they be tiny little morsels? I don't even know what I'm getting. Like, the expectations on what DLC is so wildly different compared to like a full price game.
Well, and then like the Phantom Liberty, when that launched last year, that launched with the 2.0 update of Cyberpunk that changed the entire game. So I think that there's a part of me, I get where you're coming from, because with some of these games, like with Cyberpunk, I decided I was going to wait until we had hit a, like, here is the 100% game of the century edition that includes all the DLC and all the updates and all the retools and everything, as opposed to trying to play it day one and then coming back when there's a patch and then, oh, it didn't really work. I feel that way with Starfield. Like, I don't want to play Starfield until it's like, I want to try it again until it's like done. So
yeah, because it seems they're saying it's substantial, and if you feel like, it's the sense of like you want to be the first person to play it, and all that does is make you the person who played it at its worst.
Right. Especially nowadays. I mean, the track record is bad nowadays for that sort of thing, that it's almost, if you can stand to wait, it is almost certainly in your best interest to wait for the full edition 2 years down the line, or even
just an
9 months
update. Yeah,
right.
12 months down the line.
Yeah,
where you get some new wing of the game for fucking free.
And actually, that segues nicely, because one of the things that happened, one of the mechanics in the Elden Ring DLC is that it's very difficult, but inside of the DLC there were these little like they're little fragments, and when you collect them and you trade them in, they make you more powerful. They make you do more damage and the enemies do less damage. And the thing is that
it's a leveling system specific for that DLC.
Right. And it's so that if you go into that DLC because you can go into that DLC at level 20 or at level 600. Like, there's such a dramatic difference in how leveled a person could be going into the DLC that they had to normalize the difficulty and then set up a new system, because otherwise people that had these insane characters would just run in there, stomp everything in 20 minutes and be done with the whole thing. Well,
that's clever.
This caused a problem because it was difficult, and the people that had very high level characters were very used to the base game. And in my opinion, I think that this has a lot to do with the expanded reach of Elden Ring. That Elden Ring sold a lot outside of the normal Souls fan base. I mean, it sold like 4 or 5 times as much as any of the previous games that came out. But anyway, people started downvoting this on Steam. They started review bombing it on Steam, saying it was just too hard, that the main game was hard but fair, but that this DLC was just hard for hard's sake, and they lost it and it sucked, and boo. Now, I actually told a bunch of my friends that this was going to happen because it happens every time a new DLC for Souls games comes out. Like, everybody that's very used to playing that game will then get this new challenge, and they'll be like, oh, previously it was fine, but now this new thing is garbage. It's happened every time a Souls DLC has come out. But this time they dropped the Steam score to like mixed and like edging towards negative on like the first couple of days that it was out, to the point where Fromsofts started putting out tweets where they were like, please go get the Shadow Tree fragments. Like, please go get. In fact, they even put out a tweet that had like a map with specific, like, here's one, here's another one over here. Because the thing is that people were like, I've been helping people play the final boss. And if you go into the final boss under leveled, it will one-shot you. And there's a bunch of things that boss does that it's very difficult to avoid. And so, you know, I get all geared up. I go in, I've got my stuff. But if the host hasn't upgraded at all, they're just going to get tapped on the shoulder and killed no matter what I do. And I've wasted my time and their time and everybody's time. So
it sounds like, hey, I don't know if in the history of Elden Ring, this rings true, that they did not onboard players well enough to this experience, right? Like, I get it. Like, it makes sense to have like a whole new scale of power for a new expansion for that scaling reason. And if people are complaining that it's so difficult because they've missed this mechanic, or they don't understand it, or are not running into it, whatever, either have, then where does it fall into like a game design mistake?
It's a good question. I mean, you can say that they kind of recognized it because
that headline, Elden Ring DLC just got easier. No, they explain to you how the game works.
Actually,
Isn't
no.
that your whole fucking thing? Or I guess that's a different.
Well, what happened here was that they changed. Okay, so it used to be that you would get these fragments, you would trade them in for like a default like 5% increase in your power. So the first one was 5%, the second one was 5%, the third one was 5%, all the way up to the top, right? And then you get 20 of them, and you get 100% kind of upgrade. They changed it so that the first ones are like 10%, and then like 8%, and then like 7%, so that like the first ones that you cash in give you a much bigger increase in your power, and then they taper off as you get towards the end of it, which appears
do you think, I don't know, as someone who's played it, do you think that these changes are good for the game?
No, I think that FromSoft has finally gotten to a point where they have to cater. Okay,
Please don't tell me that FromSoft got woke.
No. Oh God, no. I would never use that word. I would never use it.
No, but like you're like, don't tell me like, oh, but they had to capitulate to the mainstream masses. Like the whole thing of it is this thing. Like they got their money. I don't know.
There's
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I mean, okay. Here's what the thing is like. Okay, I've been playing these games for a long time, and I feel like there's two types of archetypes that I see playing these games, right? One is what I used to be and what I feel like a lot of people still are. You find the thing you like, and then you just like go through the game, and when you hit a boss, I'm reading these posts on the Reddit where people are like, I tried this boss 250 times before I finally managed to beat them. And I'm like, guys, that's the literal definition of insanity, right? If this game has like respect tokens and different types of gears and exploits and consumables and talismans and different builds. And then if you just have this one weapon and you bash your head up against this one thing until you finally manage to beat it, I guess that's one way to play the game. But when I started playing Elden Ring for RageSelect, what I did was I wanted to spice it up, and so I started respecking and trying different builds out and doing different things, and I had a much better time. I think that there's an intention with a lot of people to try to like bash their head up against this wall until they finally start making dents in it and get through it, whereas I'm like,
but isn't okay? No, sorry.
No. And whereas I think that, like, when I got to the final boss and I couldn't beat him with the build that I was using, I went and I respect and I tried a different build and I beat him the first time. That like this boss that everybody's just complaining about and all this blah 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 blah. And I was like, well, I've got a strategy for dealing with really hard bosses. Let me try this out. Totally worked. Then I started letting other people summon me into their game to help them beat the boss, and I beat them over and over and over again with other people. One of the things about these games is that they have this reputation of being very obtuse and very difficult. And for me, who's played a lot of these games over the years, I'm not saying that I'm not one of these like purists where it's got to be that. But this mechanic was very clearly outlined. Like the minute you get to the first thing on the map that's flashing, there's one of these things there, and the moment you go into your menu, it puts a big dot on this menu that says like upgrade this, and when you go there, it tells you what that is. That was in there from day one. That wasn't part of this patch. It's just people were like, oh, I don't want to go around and find stuff on the map. Like, I don't know. I see people online that seem to be having difficulty where I'm like, you're making this harder for yourself as opposed to, I don't know. I think the game is fair personally, but
look, I mean, and I like that I hear that, and I also think like that's for the game to take on its chin. Like at the end of the day, those are people who could not get into that headspace of trying out different builds. By hook or by crook, the game is, is this kind of slightly obtuse thing. It is, and if you've got people who are getting to the DLC, which you have to play through some of the game already to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like it's Johnny off the street jumping right into into El Air tree. I mean, and I'm not coming at it from a position like they need to make the game easier or they need to explain it better. I just think like if people have complaints about it, I think that's for the game to take on its chin because you're right. Like these are parts of the games that you like, and it does kind of stink that other people can't see that and can't get into that. But that's not your fault.
Sure.
That's the game. And so like review bombing, obviously those are coordinated, oftentimes coordinated, and like people get swelled up into a moment, but also like they had to they had to change the tutorial of the game to tell you, hey, by the way, if you missed the fucking tutorial, here it is, because people would miss it. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's an acknowledgement like that this thing does have missteps, and I see it from both sides. That it is excellent and is more of the same and more of what is beloved, and also something that probably could use a little nudge and a little nip and tuck, maybe. I don't know.
And at the end of the day, I mean, this is the developer's decision. Like previously, I think that what's different about this is this seems like the first time that I've seen Elden Ring specifically seem to be more responsive to feedback. Like in previous games, it seemed to be very much a kind of just like, yeah, I mean, it's hard, like just either play it or don't, like we don't give a shit, here it is. Whereas with Elden Ring, like they are on their Twitter being like, please go get these, please, use this stuff. I don't know, I mean, like I just am not a big fan of review bombing. Like I like the idea of making your voices known, having the company acknowledge that and make adjustments, et cetera, et cetera. They've made a lot of balance adjustments in Elden Ring over the years. I think just the idea, though, of like giving the game a negative score, to try to get the company to change something, I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. But I'm not used to that sort of thing. I just play the games that come in front of me. So
I think on the man, I'm going to save us a discussion on review bombing because there's really interesting fascinations there, but we should move on.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a few other things in this same interview. Miyazaki himself talked about how he's really bad at video games, and how he went back to play through Elden Ring to get to Shadow of the Erdtree. I don't know if this was like a specific thing or not, but like he says in the preparation, he went through. I want to preface this by he went back through the main game. I want to preface this by saying I absolutely suck at video games. So my approach or playstyle was to use everything I have at my disposal, all the assistance, every scrap of aid the game offers, and also all the knowledge that I have as the architect of the game. The freedom and open world nature of Elden Ring perhaps lowered the barrier to entry, and I might be the one who's benefiting from that, benefiting most from that as a player more than anyone else. There's kind of this attitude in the Elden Ring community that if you use like Ash spirit summons, or you summon other people, or you use certain things, that's like the wrong way to play. And so I think a lot of people have been like, here's the guy that made this game who's just like, use all the stuff that I gave you, for God's sake, throw poison daggers at the guy, like summon your mimic tier.
It's not Roblox, he put it in the game.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who don't. They're like, nope.
There's a lot of stupid people, Jeff.
Yep. In this more into this difficulty thing, this was strange. The director of Helldivers 2, that Johan Pilstead guy, came out to basically say that he thought that the difficulty in the DLC was I don't know. This has been an argument about Elden Ring and / Souls games difficulty for a long time, about like, would it hurt to have an easy mode in the game? No, you've got to overcome the huge roadblock that's part of the ethos of the game. Yeah, but if I want to play the game and I'm not interested in that, shouldn't I have an opportunity to do that? Yada, yada, yada. And he kind of fell down. He kind of came in on the side that I'm not. I think that all these games should have easy modes, to be honest. Like, but I don't know. It was in response to a tweet with somebody, a Twitch streamer, like beating a boss finally and having this like elation, having this just like, I can't believe it, I finally did it kind of thing.
What did the director say? He said, everyone is a game for no one, always cater to a select audience. That's fucking loser talk.
Yeah.
That is fucking loser talk. You are in game development. You are looking for 4-quadrant shit, my guy. The biggest game in the world is Fortnite because it's got Goku and Peter Griffin in it. Fuck off.
Yeah, but I mean, by the same token, like I think that you, having played Armored Core, know a little bit about this, right? That if Armored Core had some fights where some of those duels where when you got to the end, I mean, they were decided in like 25 seconds, but man, it made you feel like a badass when you came in and like just stomped somebody that you were having trouble with. You'd like create a new build, or you just get the hang of it and just come in and like stomp them up. Like, there is something to be said about
being glib. I'm being glib for sure, but like, if we're talking about Elden Ring, we're either talking about it as like this niche like for a select audience who love to be tortured, or it's the biggest RPG on the planet and the biggest game of like the past couple of years. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say it's, I don't know. I think it's tough to have it both ways. They want to sell it to everybody. They want everyone to be their players. So I get like directing and understanding who your target audience is in a lot of times, but like, for one guy to come in and tweet about another thing in the middle of it to just say, "Oh, we cater to a select audience." Motherfucker, your $40 game is having... Don't talk about your fucking audience, man. You're fucking Helldivers 2 guy.
Yeah. I don't know if the Helldivers 2 guy wants to throw any shade at like audiences, difficulties, or like missteps at all. Like, I know that wasn't his fault, but still. And then last, like on the Elden Ring front, in the same interview, Miyazaki said that basically that they wouldn't be opposed to having Elden Ring jump to a like a movie or a TV show or some kind of media property HBO outside of that. Yeah,
written with George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, but basically, I really like Miyazaki a lot. Like, I like his attitude. He just came out and said, like, yeah, I think that would be great if there was a thing. From Software, we have no experience whatsoever doing that, so we'd have to have like somebody who understood the game, who was a good partner, who felt like they were doing it, well, and then we would be able to hand it over to them. But like, we don't know how to do that, so there's no reason that we would want to be involved. Like, basically, like, sure, if you guys want to, I don't give a shit. Like, it's just, we're not going to do it, but somebody should.
I'm a little surprised that they didn't go to Sony, only because Sony at least has a track record on delivering video game movies, some of them good. Like, they had then Uncharted 1 came out, and
was that good?
It came out. It had the guy. It had the big guy in it. It had a big little pink guy in it.
Tom Holland.
It had Tom Holland. Tom Holland days.
I guess The Last of Us was a big success. So
yeah, Last of Us. And so yeah, like, if you this, I don't know what reason why not. Maybe. I don't know. You would think PlayStation Studios would want to swoop in after hearing something like that.
I agree. Let's see. In other movie news, the Street Fighter movie that Capcom is making that lost its directors last week got a release date this week. So despite the fact that directors were let go, scheduling conflicts, we have a firm date of March 20th of 2026. So 2 years from now. I guess 2 years should be more than enough time to figure that out. I really was interested to know what was going to happen with the Danny and Michael guys. These are like YouTubers that they're the ones that made Talk to Me, that horror movie. And it was just wild to me that they were going to be making they were going to be directing Street Fighter. And I'm just like, well, not as much now. So
this would be interesting. I feel like we're in a weird like, they made 1 million Tekken movies. I wonder what Street Fighter does, given like Street Fighter has their history mostly with those live action movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do they lean into it being cheesy and like save the world from M. Bison, the Soviet, or is it like? Is it demons?
I don't.
Tekken has demons.
Yeah, I don't know. See, the thing is that there's one side of every fighting game that makes for a really easy movie, and that's like a sports movie about like boxing or kung fu. But then there's the other side, like in Mortal Kombat, it's the Netherrealm, and Street Fighter, it's Shadowloo, and Tekken, it's the fucking the guys, devil. Yeah, the devil. Like, there's always this other side of it that then makes your movie weird, where it's like, it's not just about beating the guy at the end. It's not just the Karate Kid. It's also like, this weird save the world nonsense. So I don't know.
I just want to see some guys fighting on the street. I just want to see some fucking fighting on the street. Like, string it together, okay? But like, I would love. I don't know.
Okay, well, here's
like the Doom movie. Like, put two guys on a fucking 2D plane for a minute. I don't know.
Here's the question that I want to ask you, Bryce: is if you make a movie from a fighting game, do you do the special effects to make the guys throw fireballs and lightning bolts and stuff, or do you just make it two guys beating each other up, one way or another? Like, or do you have a guy say sonic boom and then put his hands together and have two pieces of light spin off towards the other guy? Like,
if it's Street Fighter, I think so.
Yeah.
I think the arms have got to stretch, and we've seen in One Piece they can do it. So we know we have the technology.
Okay.
I want to see like you can do the whole thing. We got it. We got the whole thing. Do it in 3D. Street Fighter in 3D. Oh, that sucks.
Well, speaking of Street Fighter, we're gonna wrap up with this before we take a break. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
I don't normally talk like this.
Street Fighter, the live action Street Fighter. Apparently, Capcom makes tens of millions of yen every year on that movie. Like, I can only assume there were no specifics, but it was like, it's got to be like buying it off of home, like rental services or digital downloads or Blu-rays or whatever. Apparently that movie is still making, and for, just to put it in perspective, that's somewhere probably between 70K and like 600K, probably closer to the 70K range. But still, you can imagine what your 1994 Jean-Claude Van Damme, Raul Julia, like
they're still cutting those checks every week.
It's like that Seinfeld episode where he's getting the tiny checks and they're just getting the $2 checks. So
this is because of the Tubies of the world and your Zemos and your Crave TVs, like absolutely. And this is the part of like the publishing like studio game is like you put the money up to do this movie and then you sell it for decades and decades and decades. And it's cool that it's like still around and still being seen because it is like a campy, fun mess of a movie.
Yeah. It's also Raul Julia's last movie, and he's really going for it in this one. I think I said it on a video that came out yesterday, but like, God, the whole speech he gives about like it was the greatest day, it was the most inconsequential day of your life, but for me it was Tuesday. Like, it's just so silly.
It's fucking amazing.
You can get on Tubi during the break and watch Street Fighter 2, the movie. All right, well, with that, we're going to take a break. We come back, we've got more news left to go, so stick around, and we'll see you in just a minute. And we're back. And Bryce, I think now it's time for some actual video game news that's not just like Street Fighter the movie and people bitching about Elden Ring on Reddit.
Please, let's dive in.
So one of the big things that happened this week was Bethesda Game Studios Montreal. It's the latest studio to form a union. Now, this probably happened because they were in Canada. It's probably, for everything I've seen, it seems like it's a lot easier in other countries to unionize than it is in the United States. But, I'm all in favor of this stuff, considering some of the jerky nonsense that happens in video game development in general. The strange thing, I had to look up who Bethesda Game Studios Montreal, like, what do they do? I think their main thing was, like, they took over Fallout Shelter. And I think they've been a support studio for some like Fallout 76 stuff. And I think they're mostly, I think, a support studio, as I couldn't find a lot of like, they didn't make Starfield or anything like that. Like, they're just kind of a secondary studio.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is like common in big publishers. Like, like everyone knows Rockstar North, but at this point, like whenever, like, I think it was GTA 5. Like, the GTA 5 credits are like literally 30 minutes long because it's every Rockstar studio touched that game.
Right, or any Assassin's Creed game. Supports.
Yeah, the Assassin's Creed game, all the Ubisoft stuff.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yep. So that's good. Let's see another Microsoft news. We got we got a bit of a misstep, okay. Some stuff was said that might explain a little bit more about why Tango Gameworks got axed a month ago, or it was like a month ago or something like that. So they've been really weirdly cagey about this, because what they say out loud makes it sound like Tango Gameworks is the exact kind of studio that Microsoft wants, this like smaller studio making more bespoke and very creative games, et cetera, et cetera. But during an interview on the Strictly Business podcast, Matt Booty was talking about Tango's closure and said, quote, "I won't get into the real sort of nitty-gritty details on what went into the decision, mostly out of respect for the people there, just because, there was a lot of work that went into developing or delivering Hi-Fi Rush, which was a great game and, did well for us." He says later on, we have to look at all those things together and then ask ourselves, are we set up for success moving forward? And while there have been many factors and situations that previously led to success, they may not all be in place as you look at what you're doing going forward. Basically, sorry, I'm kind of searching around for the right quote here. There are a lot. Here's the one I was looking for. Quote: "There are a lot of things that go into success for a game. What leadership do you have? What creative leadership do you have? Is the team the same team that shipped something successfully previously?" So this seems to give some credence to the idea that Shinji Mikami left Tango Gameworks like 4 months, 5 months, I think, before this happened. Like it wasn't a long time. And it seems as though, because I really looked into this, and Shinji Mikami set up Tango in order to train people. Like they made The Evil Within, and then one of the guys that worked in The Evil Within as a producer was like the lead for, I think it was a woman, was a lead for The Evil Within 2. Like Shinji Mikami has this history of working with talented people, and then for the next game, like elevating them to be the director. Like he's the director on the first one to show people how it's done, and then once they've got the chops, he picks the best person, and then he kind of lifts them up to be the director on the next thing. And apparently that was the whole point of the company, and then it got bought by Bethesda, and then he got moved into more of like a figurehead role where he was a producer, but he didn't have as much creative control over the company as he wanted when he set it up to begin with. And then I think that after 4 or 5 games or so, he was like, this isn't really what I wanted. I feel like I've built a good ground base of talented people who have a lot of experience making games. I feel like I can now move on and maybe try again, to do what I wanted to do in the first place. And that I think a lot of people have thought that like Microsoft shut down Tango because they wanted a studio that had one of these big name auteur leads at the studio, and that without that they saw it as just kind of like a much lower priority, that it would have been less likely to have been axed if you still were able to say from the director of Resident Evil, Shinji Mikami, here's Microsoft's new game on the thing, which is really cynical, but everything I've read points in that same direction. No, you don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think this is everyone doing the moves that are in front of them, right? Like, I don't think Tango probably wanted. Well, I don't know. I cannot say. Here are some interesting perspectives. If you were in Tango and you didn't want Bethesda to get bought by Microsoft, right? If you were on the inside and you looked at that deal as like, this is so that they can get Starfield, which is going to be the next Skyrim in space, and we are also RANds, we are value adds,
right?
And then a Microsoft guy comes in, or a Bethesda guy comes in and says he's got a Microsoft way to do it, and suddenly your vanity project just becomes not just a vanity studio, but like a rubber stamping factory where you pump out your thing. I can see, that being a reason to leave that company, and at the same time, like whenever he either set up or sold that studio to Bethesda in the first place, like that, these are the moves in front of everybody.
Yeah,
and so I think it makes some. It's tough. It's very tough because to read into the in between the lines on this, it's very harsh, right? To say like there's no one here, and there's not enough here for us to justify this. But at the end of the day, if that's what happened, that's what happened, and that stinks, and it's a shame that that group of people and that name are gone. But these people didn't die also.
Well, yes, that's true. That's true. I guess I was just, for a lot of these studio closures, I guess I've been like asking myself, like, what would be the problem with just, instead of closing the studio, basically coming in and being like, okay, we're cutting you loose. Like, you guys, you know, all your IP that you developed under us, that belongs to us. We're not going to close you down, but like, we're not going to fund you anymore either. Like, you guys got to go find independent funding, because
that is what happened. No, you got it.
Well, but I think that they actually axed. I mean, like, the studio itself got shut down, everybody got fired, as opposed to like cutting that team loose. I feel like I've seen a few places where individual studios have been able to like buy their way out of a contract. Like, I think Saber bought themselves out from Embracer Group. So instead of busting the team up and firing everybody, like, you're able to keep the team together and then have them try to go their own way. Like, I think IO did that when they left Square. Yeah. So
sure, yes. What I would, I can't necessarily counter that, but my thinking is like, this is everyone doing the moves that are in front of them. And so if it means Microsoft can just shut down these studios and do all of that, where there's maybe not that much franchise to hold on to, are we clamoring for an evil within 3? Do we need Ghostwire Tokyo 2? Like, what is that what people are actually clawing for, or are they ready to? Do people just want to move on? Because you're right. Like, with Hitman, it made sense. Hitman is a big thing. They were in the middle of doing this big business plan. But if you're Tango GameWorks, are you like the second engineer who really wants to be on Team Hi-Fi Rush 2, or needs to hold on to that when you walk away? It's tough. It's really difficult. I hate that there's so much closing, because this is like good. This is a lot of money moving in and just crowding everybody out, kind of for no reason. What it seems at this point.
Yeah, I mean, just for the record, I'd like to say that I am the guy who wants Evil Within 3, because Evil Within 2 ruled all, and I loved it so much. And we did a full sequential for RageSelect. It was, I thought it was drastically better than the first one. Oh, and it was because of what's her face, Nakamura-san. Yeah,
I'm sorry, the lady who left like immediately after she got really popular,
and then created her own thing.
Which is great for her. I mean, if you're a fan of hers, that's great for her.
Ikumi Nakamura. Yeah.
Here's the thing. If these people had a stake or had a reason to stay or to hold on, they would have been there. But clearly these relationships are dissolving because the management could not hold on to these people. Like, that's why you put these developers into development deals or contract deals or first look deals or whatever, so that they stick around. And when they don't offer you that contract, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but it means that they don't want it.
Yeah,
it's harsh to say that, but I don't want it to get lost that like this. I don't want to avoid like the reality of the situation.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, no, like, the thing is that what Tango GameWorks was set up to do, because I don't think that Ikumi Nakamura, I don't think that she left. I think that it was always the plan for her to come on as the lead for a thing and then bounce once that was out, like, and then set up her own thing. So the business model, of course, would be, you're going to bring in new talent, you're going to train them up, you're going to get a couple of good games out of them, and then they're going to leave, and then we're going to bring in new talent, we're going to train them up, you're going to get a few good games out of them, then they're going to leave. But like, what corporate executive wants to keep letting people who you've spent time and effort, like, yes, you get a few good games and you might get some good sales out of it, but eventually it's always slated for those people to kind of go off to leave the nest and go do their own thing. And who wants to do that?
Brand is not exactly a great branding exercise to be up front and say, yeah, this is our teaching hospital. This is
right.
This is our scratching post. Like that's a tough marketing decision thing. And then, I think there's I wouldn't be surprised if there's a culture clash. This is Microsoft, who have a big stake in this and need to see profits, and they're not really interested in growing these people for exactly what you're saying, because they're just going to go and do their own thing because they don't have any ties.
Yeah.
But this all steps behind the argument of like, I'm sorry, Microsoft, didn't you need video games?
Right. like
yes, all of this. You needed video games. You bought these companies because you needed fucking video games.
Yeah.
And, okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
It's got to be really fucked to do this then.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. I mean, hey, if you wanted to make a case for it, you could say, if you're going to train those people up and then they're going to go off to do their own thing, maybe the whole point of it is you just say, and then as Microsoft, we get first contract negotiation with the talent so that they don't leave. We'll just create a new studio internally and you can keep making things, because the Xbox still needs games. It still doesn't have any fucking games. So, it's become a joke how few games it has. Also... Speaking of studios that got axed by Microsoft, Redfall fans are starting to get their refunds for the DLC that they were promised with the season pass, that because they have dissolved this organization, Arcane Austin, they've got to refund people their money. I can imagine what a logistical nightmare this must be to track people down, and give them back, not a full refund for the game, but a refund for part of the game. Did you buy the collector's edition and you get $30 back? Did you pre-order it from GameStop? Well, then you got to go to GameStop and get your money back. It's this whole convoluted thing what they're talking about, where it's it sounds like if you bought it off of a digital store, it's relatively simplistic, but that if you bought it from a brick and mortar retailer, you're talking about refunding everybody who bought the big collector's edition. And what a bad taste this must just leave. I mean, I never buy those collector's editions by default, because I'm I can always buy the DLC later if it turns out to be good, but I can't get a refund if it turns out to be bad. So I always kind of just wait to see what the reviews of the DLC are. But this whole idea of we're going to sell you the game, we're going to sell you the $100 version with the whole season pass with 3 guaranteed DLCs down the road, and oops, nope, we dissolved the company, and now I've got to figure out a way to refund you 1/3 of the cost of the game that you bought. Bleh.
We saw this with Cyberpunk too, where the digital stuff was relatively easy for the stores to roll out stuff, but even then, CDPR had to be here's an open email, just fucking, we're on our knees here. We will just do whatever, because at this point, man, and it's compared to the Cyberpunk situation where you still have a studio that is intending to support their game and make it better.
Yeah.
Here you have a bunch of people who are either still at Bethesda, who have to take the wrath of this, and then you have all the developers and the people who created the game, who I'm sure don't fucking love that it's come to this level.
Yep. Let's see. We also got kind of an interesting. We got to look at the streaming console that Microsoft canceled, the xCloud only console. There was some patent stuff that got filed that kind of showed that was going to be a little set-top box. Looks a lot like an Apple TV box, with an Xbox logo and some Bluetooth and a few ports on the back and whatnot, and then set up for streaming only. I was actually curious when I was going through here, Bryce, what do you think about the idea? Because my primary resources for computing go into being able to run all this stuff on the hardware that's sitting on my desk and under my desk and stuff, right? But do you know anybody that uses what the NVIDIA thing or xCloud,
Shield or
GeForce Now or Shield or Sony had the PlayStation Now for a long time that was a streaming solution. I don't know that I know anybody that has ever used this as a primary solution. I don't even know if I know anybody that's ever played Nintendo Switch had a few games like Resident Evil that were streaming or Control.
Like cloud versions of those.
Yeah. And I don't know anybody, I think, that ever engaged with this. It's like it's a decent enough idea, but the execution.
You were the only person I ever knew who used one of those. I know you used Stadia for a minute because that was a good way to get Cyberpunk. And I did you use GeForce Now, or maybe I knew someone else who used GeForce Now once or twice, but I've used the PlayStation one, the PlayStation game streaming, what used to be. What did it used to be?
PS Now.
PS Now, right? Yeah. So I've used some of that. I've used a little bit of the Xbox xCloud beta streaming a while ago. Those are interesting. Those are interesting, but at the end of the day, there aren't games or experiences that I feel like I'm missing out on or that I need that for. I already have a PS5. I've got computers. I've got them back. Like, I've still got this desktop PC here that is like 10 plus years old because I need a PC to run the Marbles stream.
Oh, yeah.
The Marbles game and like the little apps that I use. Other than that, like I got everything I need, and I think I don't know who would be served by this. I mean, they didn't end up making this thing, but I still don't think anyone's made a proposition to say this is why you and everyone need to be playing games like this.
I personally think that I've used, for me, the big thing was having a 120 hertz monitor, because GeForce Now with games running on a 4090, you could set it to target 120 hertz, which that level of update meant that it was a lot snappier than like if it was at 60 and you were still dealing with the communication. Is that jacking up the frame rate meant that it was trying to give you a much higher bitrate stream, which then ended up being interesting. But the thing is that it always felt like there was a piece of saran wrap between me and the game. Like there was just a little bit, like I could definitely see through it and I could totally use it. This is fully functional, but it's not what I want. It's not ideal. Like, and unless they could get that down.
We haven't seen gaming push fidelity or the need for a device like this, right?
Right.
Like, there's no need to be offloading physics calculations to the cloud or anything. There's no need for that. And Fortnite runs on the phone, so like, I'm sorry, you got to beat that. You have to beat that. Yeah,
it's possible that we might come to a place where we need that offsite hardware to actually, but not right now.
But what game would that be? No one wants to make or play that game.
Well, I'll tell you what it's not. That's Forza Horizon 4, because that game is going to be delisted from Microsoft stores and Steam in December. This is a game that came out in 2018. Forza Horizon 5 is already out. I hate this so much, Bryce. I hate it. It's got to be delisted because of the dumb fucking music licensing. That's why it's being delisted, is because they secured licenses for certain things in the game for 6 years. The idea that you could have purchased this video game and then it's just like, and it's gone. Well, I guess, you'll still be able to download it if you had it. Game Pass people are getting like a Game Pass. People that played it on Game Pass are getting like a code that you can basically redeem to get the actual version of the game, so you can download it later on, which is good. But I don't know. I hate every time there's a music licensing thing. I'm just like, I hate music licensing more than anything, because it's like, oh, this game had one song in it and so nobody can play it anymore, and just like, be cool, man.
And it makes it makes a lot of disposability in a lot of these games. Like, I don't think anyone is crying that Madden 2019 has been delisted from digital game stores,
right?
And those people who bought those games still have it. But this is a bummer. I mean, for Forza Horizon 4 is a big open world like game. It's got the seasons mechanic, so it's not one map, it's fucking 4 maps.
Yep.
And like it's good that you can still play it offline and online, but it's not like Horizon 5 is like slots in. There's a similar thing with like the F1 games. A lot of the old F1 games you just can't get anymore, which is a shame because those cars and those eras of those games are really different. They change a lot over time. And so you're kind of just stuck with whatever EA has on offering right now.
Yeah.
And that's a huge shame. And I understand there's like an economics to it, right? Like they don't want $10 Madden games to be on PSN, especially when they don't change the game that much year after year. But fuck, man, like this game is this is a pretty singular experience, and that this game came out in 2018.
Yeah.
And it's happening like this now. Like it's just a bummer.
It is a bummer.
And I own this game. I guess I'm gonna own it again. But yeah, that does kind of stink.
Yep. If you want to get in on that, you've got until December 15th of this year. Well, speaking of games that used to not be available but now are, Ubisoft, I do not understand why this happened. Like, Ubisoft did not announce the worst kept secret in video game history, the fact that Beyond Good and Evil was getting a remake re-release thing. Not necessarily a remake, a remaster re-release. This was not talked about during the Summer Games Fest for Ubisoft, but then like 2 weeks after that, apparently the Ubisoft Twitter posted a tweet talking about how, smile for the camera, you'll be able to relive Jade's adventures in Beyond Good and Evil 20th anniversary coming June 25th. They put this out June 20th, and then they deleted it, and I'm still not entirely sure why. You were going to put the game out in 5 days, and you didn't want anybody to know that you were putting the game out in 5 days, and then on June 25th, they just unceremoniously put Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition out, and you could totally go buy it. And we played it last week for RageSelect, and I'm just like, they put. I didn't talk about it because I watched Furiosa last week. They put Furiosa out because it didn't do well at the theaters, and part of me is like, I don't necessarily dislike the fact that they put these movies directly on VOD or stuff like this comes out, but I'm like, do you guys want to have a little bit of time to get people hyped up for the fact that the thing is going to happen? Like, you had a press junket like a few weeks ago where you could have put in, hey everybody, Beyond Good and Evil remastered, for a remake, 20th anniversary, whatever it's called, like this classic thing that people love is going to be out in 2 weeks, and you could pre-order it starting today. Like, I just don't understand why you would keep this so under your hat, especially because it's been rumored for so long. Everybody knew it was going to be a thing anyway at some point this year. So why be coy about it? Why not just promote it and then have it come out and be, a thing where everybody's like, yay.
It seems. Oh man, like in my head, I'm like imagining like what in my head, it's like someone just keeps fucking up on the promotion.
Yeah.
And they just keep like accidentally leaking little bits of it. And so it's like, we wanted it to be a surprise, but then, or like maybe, but this is Ubisoft. There's so much money at stake that even like even if you want to say that like Beyond Good and Evil is not popular enough to warrant proper execution on this marketing, like this is still Ubisoft. You would still pull the lever of putting it in your fucking summer game thing.
You put it
I really don't get this.
You put it at the end of the montage, right? You have the montage of all the stuff that's coming out that's the also rans, and then you have just a little bit, an extra 10 seconds at the end. And also, for the first time in 10 years, a gaming classic beloved by millions, Beyond Good and Evil remastered 4K 60 FPS, new content, new blah 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 blah. Because
guess what? People are still asking about Good and Evil 2.
Right?
Like, it's not like you avoided anything about this.
Nope.
With Good and Evil 2, like you've made more trash with yourself.
I mean, and you know what? I'm glad that this is a thing. I'm glad that it's out there and people can play. I played it last week. It seems like a good version of this video game. For people who want to play it, great. You can go back and play this classic that you remember from being a kid. I just don't understand why. I don't understand why you accidentally tweeted out on the 20th that it was coming out in 5 days and then deleted that tweet. Like, just leave the tweet at this point. What damage has been done? I don't know.
There's got to be fucking cheese or Swiss holes in Ubisoft or something. I don't get why Ubisoft
Why are you like this, Ubisoft?
I know they're normally this is sloppy for them. This is sloppy for Ubisoft.
Yep.
So okay.
Yep.
All right. Well.
Let's see. Yves came out to say, speaking of Ubisoft, Yves came out to basically say that like they're going to be trying to do more remakes of Assassin's Creed games moving forward. I read this and my brain kept moving away from my head somewhere else that wasn't this story, that was just like, remember when there used to be an Assassin's Creed game every year? Well, now it's like in between the new ones that we're putting out, we want to start putting out like remakes and remasters of the old games. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm sure that is very, very exciting for somebody. I am no longer excited by Assassin's Creed. I just don't care. Like, you put out how many Assassin's Creed games? Like 13 or 14, and then like DLCs and spin-offs and stuff, and just like, man, I gave up a while back. So even though
what games would they even be remade? Because they've already remastered a bunch of these games already, or they've already forward ported them in some cases. Like, are you gonna like what the fucking Vita games that they keep reporting, or are like this quote that there are worlds in some of our older games that are still extremely rich is fucking hilarious to me. Like, they're map games. You can put more shit on the map.
There was a report last year that there was a remake of Black Flag that was being done, and I think when people think fondly back on Assassin's Creed, they think of 2, and I think they think of Black Flag. So if you were to put out a fully remastered Black Flag, I mean, in the vein of what they did with Beyond Good and Evil, like, just clean it up. You don't have to do it all from the ground up. You don't have to remake the whole thing. The art direction on that game was probably enough that you could just kind of clean it up and throw it out there with 4K textures and 60 FPS, and it would probably be fine.
A lot of those games have bad UIs, except old bad UIs.
Yep.
Fucking blades everywhere, like,
But yeah, I mean, I think they could probably get away with it, and I don't know. Konami's been doing this a lot recently of putting out older stuff. Capcom's been doing this of putting out, remasters of older games. And I don't have as big a problem with it, because it's nice to have those games released in a bunch of different places so that you can keep getting access to them, as opposed to having to go back to a PS4, PS3 version. But
then again, like, I don't know. I wonder how long this tack will last. I think they have to pick relatively older games, but they've already been doing work on bringing those games forward. I just worry that they're going to hit a point where they're trying to remake games that are already well and easily available.
Yeah, I agree. So definitely.
That'll be really weird to see, but I don't know. Ubisoft... fucking what's going on?
I don't know.
You figure it out.
Well, speaking of companies that are remaking stuff, Capcom last week announced that they are remaking Dead Rising. So the original Dead Rising is being remade into a new version, I assume in the RE engine. People have some feelings about what Frank West looks like, that he looks like a guy wearing like a fake Frank West mask or something. Frank West is always a weird looking motherfucker in the first place.
Looks like Frank West to me. He always looked fucking weird.
Yeah. They had a nice little trailer where they showed they were going over like the mall, and they show Frank West, and he says something about being a war photographer, and he jumps out of the helicopter. Dead Rising is a goofy ass franchise.
Look at this clip right below it. That's exactly his face. He's just got a weird fucking action hero face. I'm sorry, guys.
I think the Dead Rising franchise has always had this really weird thing about, like, this is what Americans are like, and it's just so over the top that I love it. Like all the mall stuff. The only thing is, I didn't really like Dead Rising. Well, okay, I made my peace with it, but games that have a timer built into them make me itchy under my skin, and Dead Rising is one of those, like, you're supposed to play it multiple times, and then you get to keep your upgrades, and you know what you're doing. So the next time you come through, it's almost like a roguelike, but it's not quite that. But
you're investing a lot of time into each run. I mean, it's a big investment to give up a run, especially if you play it the wrong way the first time and you really get deep into it, and then you realize, oh fuck, I don't have enough time, or my one save slot's fucked up.
Yeah.
That is a game that would do well to like get the quality of life upgrades from later games.
Yeah.
Because the sequels are good too, but there's a charm in that first. There's something about that first game is like the right recipe.
It's the mall and the Frank West, and I mean, just it all came together well. And like, yeah, I think that Dead Rising 3 was like my first time to really fall in love with the franchise. But and 2,
world one?
Yeah, in the one in California, I think it was amazing. I loved it so much. It was a launch title for the Xbox One, if I'm not mistaken, or close to it.
Around there, yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be coming out at some point, I believe, this year. Well, maybe. I don't know if they actually said. Anyway,
just a teaser.
Yep, just a teaser. So, let's see. From there, we got a few this kind of weird crossover announcements. Lara Croft is going to be in Dead by Daylight. She's the next survivor to be in Dead by Daylight. Of course, she doesn't have like the guns or the bows or anything, but I don't know. This is a pretty good fit. I think Dead by Daylight's been pretty smart with their crossover multiverse character choices. So.
I'm going to come on this show one time, and you're going to tell me I'm going to be on Dead by Daylight.
Eventually, it's going to happen.
You're going to come on, and you're like, yeah, you know you're going to be on Dead by Daylight next week, right? I got a PC Mag article right here. What?
I was on last week. You're going to be on next week. We're just running down the phone book at this point. So,
I mean, at least that game is still allowed to operate. So.
Yes. Let's see. Mortal Kombat 1's next set of DLC characters seems to have been data mined and leaked. We got in the first pack, our celebrity characters were Homelander, Omni-Man, and Peacemaker. And it appears that in the second round, we are going to have the T-1000, Conan the Barbarian, and Ghostface from the Scream franchise. I think these are all pretty good choices. They already had Terminator. They already had Arnie Terminator in Mortal Kombat, so I think that's why they have the T-1000 here. Yeah. And then also they're going to be putting
Conan, you could just use the same fucking
right, exactly. Cyrax, Sector, and new Cybot from previous Mortal Kombat, which those are more appealing to me than the characters from the first pack, which were like Quan Chi and Takeda and stuff like that.
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like with some of these crossover and like franchise DLCs, like either here or we saw with Tekken 7, like getting fucking Negan and the guy from Final Fantasy 14?
Noctis? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I see the Terminator show up a lot in games. Like the Terminator has been in like wrestling games a bunch. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the power of that no longer it doesn't shock me very much to hear like, oh, they're getting the Terminator again. Do you think that there's overplayed crossover characters? Like Shovel Knight. I mean, we love Shovel Knight, but Shovel Knight is everywhere. If I didn't like Shovel Knight would be like number 2, maybe.
So for Mortal Kombat and Injustice and those games, I do like it when they put stuff in here because they have to make them a bespoke moveset. Like NetherRealm's really good at making like fatalities that reference something from the franchise, or like the little intro or the taunts or whatever. Like I think Homelander, when he comes in, he's drinking from the milk all sloppy like he does on the TV show, and Omni-Man, when he does his fatality, grabs the guy and he holds him up in front of the train car where all the people are hitting him like he does in the show. So I think that there's a little bit more to that, because it's not just the Leonardo DiCaprio, pointing at the TV meme of like, look, it's Ghostface. It's that Ghostface is going to have special moves and fatalities and stuff from the movies. So it's a little bit more referential than just, here's Lara Croft. She can fix a door faster than the other people. Here's Nicolas Cage, right? You like Nicolas Cage. Here's Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as like who's overblown, I don't know. I think that... I'm just going to have to fall back on like a lot of the superhero stuff. So like, I don't want to see Wolverine, Batman, or Spider-Man in anything, and I definitely don't want to see the Joker in any video game. Full stop. Like, just I don't even want the Joker in anything anymore. Like,
yeah. Oh, those are both really good. Okay, that's great. Send in your comments. Email into the show who your most overplayed DLC character is.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's somebody who's not been overplayed in a video game. I was so surprised to see this, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. Did you see that Hitman is adding a new assassination mission with Conor McGregor? So this takes place on the Isle of Sgil, the end place from Hitman 2. Yeah.
Island Castle.
Yeah. And then they've replaced the middle with like a big MMA ring where like one of the tech billionaires from the Hitman universe has decided that he wants to go up against Conor McGregor, which is actually Jon Favreau's plot in Friends, the series, where he's a tech billionaire that decides he wants to be an MMA fighter. And then you have been sent as Agent 47 to kill Conor McGregor, quote unquote, the disruptor, in one of these elusive target missions. Now, as I understand it, Conor McGregor's kind of a piece of garbage. I mean, like, don't hit me, Conor. Like, I'm just saying what I read on your Wikipedia page, but like, he seems like he gets in fights all the time, and that he's been very like, he's kind of a jerk, and he, runs over, some lady jumped off a boat to get away from him or something. So I'm a little confused.
Which makes it so clever for like him to be
the guy you kill.
Yeah, that's such a weird. Like, imagine you're IO and you're like, "Hey, can we kill you in our game? Can we scan you and kill you in our game?" Because they do this a lot. I mean, this is not the first time they've had a big celebrity, but it is interesting to think of this as like, well, if people don't like me, they can kill me in the game.
Right. Is it the idea of like, it made me think of wondering about like elusive targets. I'm not going to say any of this because I wonder about YouTube, but like think of hated people over the last few years, people that have had like big international, like have been canceled, who have had big controversies. Would you
now in Hitman?
Right. Would
Agent
you
47? There's been benefactors on Twitter have said that you need to go after this person.
Agent 47. Ted Cruz is trying to escape the constituents of Texas. Like, what would you think about the idea of putting of disliked people? Because the thing is that I think that Conor McGregor, he obviously is like agreed to this. He probably gets a kick out of it at the idea of like, oh, I get to be in this video game, but also, it's the Hitman game. I'm going to be the one who gets killed, right? I get to be a celebrity face, but with the understanding that the mission is going to be for somebody to shoot me in the face with a sniper rifle. Yeah, whatever. Give me the money. I don't give a shit. Like, he's obviously used to controversy and stuff like that. But I'm interested to know if there's any kind of moral qualms that people might have about like playing this. But then it's also not a paid thing, so you're not giving them money. It's just something that they did another one of these recently with like a DJ guy that was like an elusive target. Like they're not doing them all the time, but it seems like IO maybe has a thing out there where like, if you're willing to fund the development, we will make you an elusive target in Hitman type of thing or something.
It does seem like you do a promotional element to it, right? Because it's or maybe you go to these people and say like, it benefits both of us, right? Like,
right.
You can look up, like I looked up Conor McGregor, and one of the things it says is like, new Hitman challenge wants you to kill Conor McGregor,
right? Which
is like cool. So like he gets like publicity, they get a character, he just needs to get scanned in, they blah blah blah, like, and I bet for IO, they can just slot in anybody, right? Like, if it wasn't Conor McGregor, who's to say it couldn't have just been like next MMA guy you can think of? Like, you can put any of these guys in, presumably, because they have a thing that it's going to be on scale, and it's going to need an octagon, and there's going to be a tech guy around there. So,
Yeah.
There's a lot of really interesting angles to this, and I'm glad that they are still doing this. I kind of thought they were done with elusive targets. I kind of thought Hitman was capital D done, but then they're doing this. So.
I think it is done, but I think they still have the pipeline set up to build elusive targets. And so that's why I think that there's some kind of funding thing where they have like an open, like, hey, is part of your promotional budget, do you want to come give us, $100K and we'll spend 2 weeks making, we're not making new maps. We're not making, we're going to scan in the asset of the person that we want to do. But like, you look at the number of assets in the Hitman engine, and my God, they've got so many buildings and rooms and areas where they can make this stuff happen. Like, I'm sure it took somebody like a day and a half to make the octagon of, metal pipes and a red carpet and, or, like a mat. Like, there's already all that stuff in the game. So,
and they tend to do a really good job of making, when they do like little map variants of this, like having things to do, having like, things that challenges and training bits as well, mastery levels and all.
I just realized that it ends today. It ends the day that we're recording. It says July 27th through the 29th. It was only 3 days. What the hell?
No, it was a month. June. No,
July.
You got another month to do it. Don't worry about this, pal.
Okay.
Don't worry, pimp. You can still kill Connor McGregor.
June 27th through July 29th. Excellent. All right. I tell you what, let's lightning round some of these things before we get to the third part. Let's see. PSVR 2 game funding is apparently being slashed. This is not surprising considering I don't think that thing has sold very well. Apparently there are only 2 active games in development at Sony right now for the PSVR 2. I feel like in this economy that we're not seeing a lot of VR sales, so that makes a certain amount of sense. The PSVR 2 seems like it never sold very well anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. It's only a bummer. It's like a self-defeating prophecy.
Right. Yeah, the poor get poorer kind of thing, where it's like, they never gain enough momentum.
No buy game.
Right.
Yeah.
The Steam summer sale's going on, and you can buy an entry-level Steam Deck for the cheapest ever. It's on sale, the base Steam Deck that... not the OLED one, but the base one, the LCD one, is on sale for $296. So basically, it's about $50 off of what it was before. You can also get the 64 gig one for $381, which is about $6-7 off what it is. Personally, I don't need a Steam Deck. I've got the aforementioned desk full of monitors pointed at me, but in case you had a $300 and you were looking for a Steam Deck, now's not a bad time to buy one. So.
But it's the cheap one.
But it's a cheap one.
Knows you don't want to get the cheap one. You
right.
want to get the better one.
Right.
And then they got a new one, right? It's not Steam Deck 2, but it's Steam Deck New.
The OLED, yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't get that. And then that one's got a nice one. Sorry. Anyway.
Steam is adding game recording to the actual app itself. So
long overdue.
Doing game capture. It's in the beta right now. It's pretty cool. It's basically, you can set it up, with all the stuff that you would normally do to run in the background and do shadow recording. What's actually really interesting is that they have 2 apps right now in Counter-Strike and in League of Legends, Dota. If you kill somebody or if you die or if something happens, it'll actually put a marker on the timeline showing when that event happened so that you can clip it back. It's also built into the chat system, so you can like clip a thing and then just immediately send it off to somebody over chat, et cetera, et cetera. Seems like a good implementation. I might try it out, just to see how. I'm always worried about system resources, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean that's great.
Let's see. Stardew Valley has a new hardcore mode. This is very funny. This was based on a hard drive article, which is kind of like the Onion for video games, where somebody had said hard mode for Stardew Valley is if you open the wiki, then your game gets deleted. And that's what this mod does, is it runs in the background. And if you're running the game and it detects a browser window that says Stardew Valley wiki on it, it just deletes your save game and exits the game immediately. So this is what they consider hardcore Iron Man mode for Stardew Valley.
Oh, that's cute.
And you know what? We only got 2 more here, and we got a bunch of trailers. So I think we're just going to go ahead and do these 2 real fast when we come back. So everybody stick around. We still got trailers left to go. We'll be back in just a minute with more podcasts. And we're back. And it's the home stretch, Bryce. We're really making progress today. We got a couple more stories here before we get to the trailers. It's funny. Payday 3 got an update, giving people the offline mode that a lot of people have been asking for, but. You have to be online first before you can go offline. So when you're playing offline, when you finish, it has to go online to like update your like save file on the cloud and stuff like this. It's not a true offline mode yet. You still get to play offline, but it's like you have to like log in and then go offline. Okay. And the devs have said like, we understand this is not ideal. We are working at a full offline mode. One of the things that I thought was really interesting about this was apparently they said that when you play online, there's a lot, you mentioned this earlier, there's a lot of calculations that get done on their servers. So playing offline is going to be more hardware intensive because there's some AI stuff, or not AI, but like, not AI like image generation, but AI like character stuff that gets done on their server that then will have to be done on your computer if you're playing offline. So
I wonder what that stuff is. That's just interesting because I'm assuming it's part of them building out this offline mode. But
yes,
I'm fascinated because in my head it's like, okay, well, is it like for bots and your enemies, because there are like enemy bots, but then what's so much about this that has, maybe they just do it in the cloud because they need it to sync up with multiple people, then okay. But then if you're doing this offline, then you probably have to do some work to change that data.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's interesting.
The piece of this article says the developer also warned that performance will be affected as many of the elements typically handled by servers must now run on the player's device. So I don't know much more than that, but But at least they're moving in the right direction. And Payday 3, I was like, every day I'm wondering whenever I see Payday 3, is it like Payday 3 has been canceled and the studio Starbreeze is shutting down? So it's good to see that we're not there yet. Last we had there was an online shooter that's called Boundary. I don't know if you've ever heard this. It's a space Call of Duty style shooter where you play in zero G in these kind of paramilitary spacesuits, and it's about shooting people in space. And it's closing after a year, but this is a really strange thing because this reeks of contract dispute. The publisher said that they're shutting it down, et cetera, et cetera. The developer, who's in China, has issued multiple things saying we don't want this to shut down. The publisher isn't giving us the resources. They didn't pay us what they were supposed to. We are not we're more than happy to keep doing this. There's a lot of players that like this game a lot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it seems like this isn't a done deal, and that it's not it's possible that they might be able to this isn't permanent. A lot of people apparently on Steam really like this game, and so it appears to be I don't know. I hate the idea that this happened with the Sinking City, right, with Frogwares and Big Ben, where it was a contract dispute between the game maker and the developer meant that the publisher was trying to strong arm the developer by being well, then fine, we'll just fucking take it, we'll just take it away from you, do whatever the fuck we want to it, regardless of what you think. And they
lost that court battle, if I remember right.
Oh man, I think so. It's so
it worked out where the developer, that game is back, and you're supporting that developer when you buy that game now.
Yes, yes.
This is tough because this is a live service game, and if those are fucking expensive to make, and if the publisher, this is how publishing works, you put the money up and you got to get the money back. It's investing, and the
developer
the rights.
Basically said they're trying to retain all their user data, and they're trying desperately to basically get the rights to the game out from the publisher. Like if the publisher isn't interested in continuing it, they would be interested in taking it indie and then like, putting it back up and letting, trying to run it on their own as opposed to partnering with a publisher. So, but again, as we talked about before, publishers don't like to give up the rights to stuff. They really don't. They normally they'll ask to, they'll want compensation. They want you to purchase the rights from them, not just to give away something that could be profitable. So, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's a shame. We're gonna see more stories like this as more like successful games reach the end of their life.
Yes, that is almost certainly going to be something that happens. Okay, trailer time.
We got for some good cheerful energy. La-di-da-da-da-da.
Fortnite is got their new. God, I am in awe at how often Fortnite updates and does new stuff. So they have a new mode that they put out called Reload. That's like their new thing. It's supposed to be kind of going back to basics as opposed to having, the last thing they did was kind of like a Mad Max style car combat. This one is like they've reduced the number of players for each map from I think 100 to like either 60. I think it's 60. The map is smaller, and apparently as long as your whole squad doesn't wipe, that's what they're showing here in this trailer, people can re-enter the game. So after a certain amount of time, you don't have to manually bring people back. Like they'll just like pop out of holes in the sky and they can rejoin your squad as long as the entire squad isn't wiped out. As a way to basically focus on like keeping a lot of action going, having more like thrilling kind of upsets, just a focus on action, on get people into action faster, keeping them in action longer. And
is it still Battle Royale also, where you're still having to follow the circle and all?
Yes. As I understand it, yes. This new mode is for that, and it's just, it's just got altered rules to basically squeeze everything tighter, faster, and then to give people more chances to keep playing if they get killed and the squad doesn't wipe. So,
you talk about like Fortnite changing and having so many different modes and all these events, but it is kind of a testament that they're able to not just change things up, but also, as far as I'm aware, to pretty unilaterally make these changes and not get too much blowback or pushback for, doing something and then, making it a part of something else or just ending it. Mm-hmm. I think there is something like to really commend them for like still managing to hold on to trying to keep the game fresh without like loading it up with everything that's come before it.
Right.
Like I think about GTA Online, which is also hugely popular, and that game is so fucking messy because they just kept putting stuff in it instead of fixing anything or like making fundamental changes.
Right.
Whereas like Fortnite has like 2 modes and you're doing one thing at a time and it's really focused, and that I'm just like in awe.
I think that they also, they've built a player base that is used to this, right? As opposed to like, in GTA, if they were to take things, quote unquote, take things away in order to try to streamline an experience by taking away certain things that have already been added, I feel like their player base would be upset with that because they're not used to it. But with Fortnite, not only is it a thing where it's like, oh, they change it up, but they change it up fast. Like this will be the thing for a month, maybe 2, and then it'll be some new thing. It'll be some new DLC, and then they do a good job of like integrating, it's like, oh, we put in the anime guys and then we made part of the map look like an anime future city, right? And then we have all these new skins that go with it. And I really am curious to know how big the Fortnite team is and how many people it takes to keep doing this, and whether they just have like an incredibly streamlined pipeline or whether it's just a sheer brute force. We've got 2,000 developers. These guys are working on Reload. These guys are working on the thing for the next month. These guys are working on the one after. You basically have like 5 teams that it just keeps rolling. It just keeps rolling down, and then here's the new thing, and then now you go back to the end and start developing the thing for 6 months from now, type of thing.
I wonder. I'll toss this out, and we don't have to get too into it, but like, because I know you follow the gaming news a lot closer than I do. I feel like we haven't seen like competitor games to Fortnite come out where someone has said from some developers of Fortnite, right? Like I don't think anyone has like leaned into their pedigree of working at Epic and Fortnite unless I mean, of course, if they've got an NDA or for something for some reason, can't say that they worked on it, whatever. But you would think that we would see more of that, given how many competitors there's been, which either speaks to the the impossibly huge size that Fortnite is, or maybe they've got it. Maybe they figured something out. Maybe they got something cooking.
I think they do it so much better than everybody else that it's like if you want to be a competitor to Fortnite, you have to be ready. It's like Epic trying to take on Steam, right? Like this isn't a normal like, oh, here's our science fiction shooter. It's like you're coming for the king. This is like, oh, we're gonna knock World of Warcraft out of the #1 MMO spot. And it's like, well, then you better be ready because they've got a lot of time, a lot of experience, and a lot of really dedicated players. So, but.
And it's free.
Yeah.
It's free. Fuck, man. That's crazy.
I downloaded it, and then I ended up spending a lot of money on skins and stuff because I was just like, I want the Doom Guy skin. I want the Geralt of Rivia skin. So, let's see. We got a new trailer, a big 6-minute gameplay overview trailer for Warhammer Space Marine 2. I'm so excited for this. It talks about the story a little bit, which I won't get into. The thing I think was really interesting was they talked about this new tech that they've got for the Tyranids. So last time it was orcs. This time it's Tyranids, which are these like swarming kind of Zerg style aliens. And they show like just these huge swarms of enemies and how apparently they've got some kind of big crowd tech that allows them to do these big swarms with less resources so that you can be fighting like I think they've got kind of a some screenshots here showing like just these giant swarming masses of these weird bugs and kind of going through and fighting them. It goes into the story a little bit. It talks a little bit about those online modes where they've got like 3-player kind of strike PvE missions you can play with your friends, and then there's also like I think it's a 6v6 online multiplayer mode where you can customize your armor and make your favorite guys. It really is reminiscent of Gone Home
like Days
or
Gone.
Days Gone. Yeah, Gone Home. It's really reminiscent of Gone Home.
The letters are tagging me page upon page in my eyes.
I love this. I love this franchise, and they keep making either tactics games or online games. I love Space Marine. I can't wait to play Space Marine 2. It's just big, hulking, future dudes in armor, chainsaw sorting a billion buggy aliens in this horrible fascist universe. It's a great.
I know that Warhammer's been around forever, but God damn. Like, this looks really great. And this is like the 20th Warhammer game that's been out this year.
Yeah. Well, Games Workshop will give a Warhammer 40K license to just about anybody. Like they.
Yeah. But still, like, this is cool.
Yeah.
This was totally not something I was aware of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Saber is making this, and I feel like they're good at making kind of just, third person mowing down gallons of blood and guts and gravelly space marines talking about, I'm going to do this. Here's my giant space marine hammer. I'm going to hit the million bugs in the face. And yeah, I can't wait. It looks great. It looks like my kind of game and just violent and horrible, and give it to me now. And that's coming in September. So right around the corner. Let's see from there. This came out right before we started. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, that old like PS2 game. I think Aspyr made a version of that for the Nintendo Switch, but it's coming out on consoles now. It's coming out on the PS5, PS4. This is the Jango Fett game that was like kind of remastered by Aspyr. It's been up-resed and made to work on modern systems. And I know this has a lot of fans. I think Michael and I might have played it, and we were like, It's so interesting to play these games where they make them look pretty good. Like, they don't look completely modern, but they look pretty good. But then you play them and the controls are always a little janky because it was like before we got into a real rhythm of like, this is what controls for a third-person action game are.
Turn with L1 and R1.
Right. It's some kind of weird stuff like, you're going to attack with the square button, and it's like, what? Why? Let me use the triggers for God's sake.
And you're going to aim with the X button.
Yeah.
What?
But that's coming out August 1st, so
Cool.
something to tide you over.
I'm glad they're keeping these games, like these Star Wars franchise games, alive with these forward ports.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's, port after port, but these are pretty older games. Like, I think they're doing work on these, which you can't always say about some of the other big franchises. But I'm glad that these games continue to live on, because you can just tell that there was a lot of work and craft put into these like side story games.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice. I mean, I think there are a lot of games from the PS2 era that aren't playable, and I'm glad to see that. I feel like we're starting to dip back into that era to pick stuff up, because a game with good art direction, it's not going to look like a modern game, but good art direction on the PS2 still holds up in 4K 60 FPS today. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not the best thing, but it's not the worst either. So Bryce, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero got a new trailer. This is the new Budokai Tenkaichi Dragon Ball game. I know that I don't think you're a Dragon Ball guy. Are you a Dragon Ball guy? I don't think you're a Dragon Ball guy, but you've dabbled.
I haven't had any more Dragon Ball, but it seems like they're still doing the same stuff. I'm looking at Gotenks, or Gogeta. Like, why am I still looking at Gogeta?
Well, this is the franchise that's just about. This is the fan service franchise where we put 150 characters that is like every person that you want, and then we just are doing arena battles with a flimsy story thing. I don't know who half these characters are. There's like some big fairy lady, and then it's got Trunks in there, and
yeah. Oh, remember this place? The
no.
The place where they have the battle. They spend a long time in this arena here.
Nope.
Doing the strength testing with Mr. Hercules. Mr. Satan.
Mr. Satan is he's in this trailer. There's Mr. Satan. There he is. I think this game looks really good. Like, I think they've gotten really good at like emulating the kind of 2D art style, especially with Dragon Ball, because it's so kind of simplistic. Like, it's really easy to translate into these kind of 3D models. And I think that this is going to be a really great time for all Dragon Ball fans, because as near as I could tell, this is what Dragon Ball fans want. They just want to go back and play the battles that they remember and have a great time with a game with good mechanics. So I personally don't. There's like a dark Goku thing, Goku Black,
Goku Super Ultra Instinct Sign. Okay,
and it's like I Goku Black Super Saiyan Rose. I don't know.
Yes!
I don't know.
Finally, for Pride Month, they have given us a Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is now in the Alphabet Mafia. LGBTQIAZ. Let's go.
Anyway, this looks great. I don't know. I feel like you probably haven't been following this, so this might be your first exposure to this.
I keep thinking, I keep remembering that they made a good Dragon Ball game a few years ago, and it's in my head, like, I have it on like Game Pass or something, and he's like, I should play that Dragon Ball Z game. That's great. And then keep coming out with more of these games.
Yep.
Like, this is cool. I'm glad that they're. Look at those. That's 6 of the same guy on screen. We're looking at 6 of the same fucking guy on screen for DLC bonus. Okay, sorry.
Bryce, as near as I can tell when I watch these trailers, I'm like, it seems like most of these are the same guy, but I'm not qualified. I don't know how many Gokus they've shown off already. There's like Goku and Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan Black and Super Saiyan Go Tanks and Go Trunks and Go fuck yourself, like
Ultra Instinct God.
Right.
Triple S, double S.
And it's like
quintuple S.
There weren't enough guys with big hair punch each other already. Now they got to merge together into a new guy with a slightly different big hair that's also punching everybody a million times.
Each of the guys has an earring on one side, and when they come together, the guy's got both earrings.
Oh. You know more about this than I do.
You know what? Actually, this might have been my childhood. I might have actually watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z now that I think about it.
There you go. Let's see. From there, my childhood had a lot more Mobile Suit Gundam in it, and a little while back they announced this. Yeah, hold on. They announced this game called Mobile Suit Gundam Silver Phantom, and I was like, ooh. So Dragon Ball fans are eating well. They've got a fighting game, they've got an RPG, they've got an arena battler. Gundam fans, on the other hand, we just let Sunrise kick us in the nuts over and over again because they announced this new game, and I was like, ooh, a new Gundam game. They're like, well, it's going to be VR, and I'm like, well, I've got VR, so maybe it'll be like a good VR pilot a Gundam game where I can sit in the cockpit. It's not. It's a mixed reality experience where you grab a little Gundam action figure, and then there's got like guys coming out of a hole in your wall, and then you hold it up and it shoots at them. It looks like trash. It looks like the more trash. And then also you could go to mixed reality, and you could like walk around the Gundams when they're life size and look at them, and that's what you could do apparently in this game. Like you walk into a hangar.
Okay, that's no. Okay, I'm into look. All half of VR games legally. This is by law. This is like the Canadian content thing that they got up in Canada. Half of all the VR games have to be shooter games. So this is okay. Like it looks. This is playing with dolls. You are just playing with dolls, and it's great. You can have you got a little laser sight, and your guy.
Nope.
I
nope.
This.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
If amiibos could come to life, I love this. Actually. You're shooting the guys. Get the guys.
It would be one thing.
We gotta go to the left.
It would be one thing if there were a whole bunch of really good Gundam games, and then this came out, and I was like, well, you can't win them all. But like, you can't win any of them. There's none of them that are good. They're either the fucking Gunpla games, or it's some kind of SD thing. I don't want it. Anyway, I don't want it.
I like this if they let you use like existing things. If you have to buy like your own fucking like QR codes, figures to use it, it's a failure.
We got a new release date for Arcade Paradise VR. You played Arcade Paradise.
Oh,
so
yes.
This is Arcade Paradise, but it's in VR. It seems like they've got a little bit more focus in this one on games for the arcade that are a little bit more VR centric, so like light gun games or like dart throwing or those kind of things. This is going to be on the PSVR 2. I think Arcade Paradise is a fun time. Like I had a really good time with it. I don't entirely know if I'd be interested in playing it in VR. But I don't know. I'd be interested I'd be interested to see what because I noticed some of the games, like there's a Wood Guy Jr. over there, like some of the actual arcade games, I'd be interested to know, do you have to play those like with the virtual hands? Do you have to like pretend like you're using a stick? Because it seems like that would be kind of bad as far as feedback went. Or do you use like the stick on the VR, the thumbstick on the VR in order to play the game, and like the buttons on the other side? But yeah, sorry if I could cut you off there.
Or no, I was cutting you off. I am in the same vein. Like I liked Arcade Paradise. I think it's cool. I think the stuff that they've got here, where like you can throw baskets around and throw clothes around, where you kind of like unstuffify the game, right? Like I think that's cool. And I guess like on console, this is probably the closest thing you've got to coin game on early access on PC. But I just remember like I had such like a so-so time with the story of Arcade Paradise that I mean I could go back, but a lot of the games just are like we're not balanced for like coming back and playing them for fun.
They were meant to be played for about 10-15 minutes, and then like anytime that I had to go back to one of them, it was like, oh, I don't really want to have to do this, but like So I don't know. It was a great experience, and I guess if this was your first experience, I think this is a really good game that kind of still remains a little bit under the radar. Where like I think as a simulator style game that it's kind of an interesting one because unlike I don't know, the roller coaster tycoon. You're making roller coasters, but like here, you're setting up video games in an arcade, and then you get to play the video games in the video game that you're playing about running an arcade, which I think is just meta enough to work better than some of the other, the cooking chef simulator, like, oh, I'm brewing my own beer simulator, and it's like, but I don't actually get to drink it at the end. We're here, I actually get to play the video games that come into the arcade. So,
yeah, it's a lot. It's like if only it was coin game is my only downside.
What is that? You mentioned that. What is coin game?
Oh my gosh, look it up. It's so on Steam. It's someone has gone through in Unity and remade or made like copyright free or knockoff versions of basically every type of arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's under the guise of like, it's your birthday and you go to this arcade and you can play these games, you get tickets. And so there's like a free play mode where you can just go around and you see this island. There's a hardcore survival mode.
What?
You have to like take jobs to earn money to play games. You have to turn your prizes. You can turn your prizes back into money. You have to eat. You do jobs.
Okay, that's weird.
And so, like, to me, this is what Arcade Paradise has to go up against. Because this I've played multiple times. I was like, oh, yeah, I would like to play just like a coin pusher game. And it's got one.
Okay.
So, I mean, kind of different goals between the two different things. But I think functionally similar. And VR, I think, is a good decision for Arcade Paradise.
Yeah. Let's see. We got another trailer for Hide the Corpse. This is a VR game where you basically there's like a dead guy and you've got to like drag his corpse around and figure out how to hide it in a limited amount of time before the cops come. I think it's a really interesting idea at this kind of like yanking this body around and trying to stuff it in in different places. You can interact with a bunch of objects. I think there's a lot of different things you can kind of do with the game. I was enamored by this because the first trailer had a narrator that sounded a lot like Matt Berry, talking about trying to hide the corpse. But
the corpse looks a little like Matt Berry.
A little bit.
Mateo Berry.
Yeah. It's like and it's got this like 1970s kind of look to it where everything's a little like gross and kind of brightly colored in a way that we don't see as much in other places. So, the only thing I can say about this is that it's on the Meta Quest, I think, and I don't have one of those. I'm not going to buy one to play like 4 games. I already bought a PSVR and I barely use it. So, but cute idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and I bet a lot of like the good VR ideas that end up being good but are stuck on one platform. A lot of times that's like exclusivity deals. Like I'm sure we see a lot of good games that end up spreading to other. You'll be able to hide a corpse soon, Jeff.
Good. Changing gears entirely, we got this reveal trailer for a game called Alcahest. This is from some of the developers of Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, and it's like a medieval fantasy first-person kind of what do they call them? Like an immersive sim where there's like a bunch of different ways to kind of, you've got a lot of different tools and you can do stuff in a variety of different ways.
Like Thief. Like the Thief series,
sort of, yeah. Where it's like you can use magic, you can use like there's like potions and stuff. Now this trailer is obviously
fucking fake.
It is obviously pre-rendered, but it's an interesting proof of concept. I think that I like immersive sims, no matter if they're medieval, modern, futuristic, whatever. So I'm a big fan of immersive sims, and if it's some of the people, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic was very well received. And yes, this trailer is complete and total horseshit. Or if it's not, then these are some of the best devs I've ever seen in my life, with animation blending and like immersive animation in ways that I've never seen before in my entire life.
What fucking buttons are you supposed to be pressing when you do this? Like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me? Okay, that was probably real. Throwing it at his head. Okay. Yeah, this looks neat. I'm down for. I do like those kinds of games where you're given a a lot of tools to do whatever you need. Similar to Hitman, I guess. I think that's something I really like about Hitman. But the thing I find in like, at least in Hitman specifically, is that there are always tracks that you're kind of meant to get on and off of.
Yeah.
So that's something to kind of see what they break out of the mold for this.
This also has some what are that Kingdom Come Deliverance vibes to it as a first person kind of hack and slash medieval fantasy type of thing. Even though Kingdom Come is definitely not fantasy, but. I don't know. I want to see what it actually looks like. If this is what the game actually looks like, I've never seen anything that animates that well before, but I have a feeling that the actual gameplay, show me the non-lie, and I will be interested in giving an evaluation. So. Yeah. We got some Switch stuff. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate is coming to the Switch, and we got a release date for it. This was the Apple Arcade roguelike game that I understand was very good.
This is a good game.
Yep. Did you play this?
I did. I played a minute of it, and so I don't know how deep it is, but it's fucking Hades, but it's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's what I heard.
And there's nothing wrong. There's like, it's kind of shocking a little bit sometimes. You're like, this is fucking, this is Hades. Hell, this is Hades. So I'm looking at some of this trailer stuff, and I wonder, but this will be for the Switch?
Yes.
Okay. Which I guess it was a touchscreen thing before. I just hope they update the UI. Because even on the I played it on the iPad, and you could already tell it looked like it was being blown up. So that's one thing I would worry about just a little bit is the res.
July 17th. Well, I do know that everything on Apple Arcade, I think generally had to have controller support, because I played a lot of Apple Arcade stuff on the Apple TV with a Bluetooth controller. So, but yeah, this looks great. I can't wait to play it. It's coming very soon, July 17th. So. We also got the launch trailer for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Just came out this week. If you're a fan of Luigi's Mansion, it's funny to think that Luigi's Mansion 3 was it last year or was it the year before?
No, it was like 3 years ago.
Was it?
3 or 4 years ago.
Let's see. Luigi's Mansion.
It has to
3.
be if only because I keep getting bitter when I keep thinking Super Mario Odyssey was only 2 years ago, and it was like 6 or
2019. Yeah,
5 years.
5 years. So okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, more forward porting, and Nintendo always does a lot with these HD. I think they tend to get a good reputation for their HD upmix.
And then I think this was a 3DS game, right? Originally, wasn't Luigi's Mansion 2 was a 3DS title when it originally came out?
Oh.
So
I don't know. Oh, that could be. Which? Oh.
Let's see. Luigi's Mansion 2. Yep. Nintendo 3DS. So.
Okay. Wow.
So it's good to see it break free. I like when they take 3DS games and then put them on a console that I own in my house. Epic Mickey Rebrushed got an official release date, as well as a collector's edition that's coming out. This was a Wii game, so I'm interested in trying it out because I didn't like Wii games very much. I didn't like the motion controls all that much. But this is a Warren Spector game, and I like Warren Spector. So, from Deus Ex to Epic Mickey. And as I understand it, this was made here locally because I think that what's that? Powerhouse Animation, I believe, did a lot of the animation for the cutscenes, and then Warren Spector's local, I actually went to college with one of his relatives.
Cool.
They're like, you're a video gamer. My dad's brother is this guy. Have you ever heard of Warren Spector? And I was like, they've got a collector's edition too that's kind of cool. It's got like a little steel book, and it's got like a little Epic Mickey statue and an Oswald the Lucky Rabbit keychain and some little art stuff. I'm glad to see when games like this get a re-release. I don't know.
Yeah,
nothing to complain about.
It looks like all the fluff around it is nice. Like that steel book looks okay. The figurine looks okay. If they kind of like touch up the game a little bit, I'm sure it probably wouldn't hurt from that. Like, nice. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a good vector, though, right? 3DS and Wii games, because they were never like super hardware intensive in the first place, so they've got to be relatively easy to up-res.
And they're like same for the PS2. Like people are just gonna have like a deep like nostalgic connection to some of these titles at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Where like Epic Mickey for some people like was their childhood and like was not just like a mediocre game or maybe an okay game.
Yeah,
it's like that was the game that they had and they fucking loved it, which is great. Like I'm old.
Let's see. We also got the launch trailer for they put out Frogun on a lot of different platforms called Frogun Encore. This is like a kind of a retro platformer where you play as a little girl that has a frog gun that shoots a little tongue out that you can use to kind of grapple to places, and you're putting a big series of kind of platforming challenges, kind of going between different stuff. It's got a kind of retro PSX almost style sensibility. I played this I think for a Patreon video when it originally was out on Steam, and it is very charming and fun if that's what you're into. It's a great one of those games. It's like Penny's Big Breakaway or whatever. It's like if you look at the trailer and you're like, ooh, then you will probably like it. Because it's a very well made example of those types of games. So
this looks good. This has been on the original Frogun has been on my wish list for a minute. So there's more.
Yeah.
That's
PS5, cool. PS4. SteamWorld Heist 2 got a pre-order trailer. This one talked a little bit more about the game as far as this kind of overworld section goes, where you're kind of driving this boat through this giant shard. It's like it's like you're on this giant shard full of water, and then you're kind of on a ship full of these steamboats going between different places and having fights. This is the one that's like a tactics, a side-scrolling tactics game where you move and shoot.
You aim up and down like Worms style. Yeah,
a lot of ricochets, and indirect fire and stuff. I'm still confused, Bryce. I don't know how successful the SteamWorld franchise is, but goddamn, do they keep making them? Like, I never got the impression that anybody was buying this shit out of the SteamWorld games, but apparently they're doing successful enough to keep making more of them. So
I'll say that, I mean, these are good games. I really liked SteamWorld Heist. I think did I buy? I think I owned. I think I bought. I know I played a lot of SteamWorld Heist. They managed to like tap into like a lot of like good semi niche gameplay styles, right? Like they just put out that city builder game a while ago, and then what's the other type of SteamWorld game where it's like
Dig?
There's Dig, but isn't there like a real time combat one?
I don't know.
SteamWorld.
Let's see.
There's a lot of they managed to lean into these different genres in a really good way.
Dig Quest.
Maybe that was it.
Hand of Gilgamesh.
In any case, they do a really wide spectrum of games, and I think they managed to like tell good stories and have a good game. I mean, you don't. They're good games. It's one of those franchises where it's like I actually have played I guess a lot of that because it works. They're good at those games.
Fair enough.
And that Heist 2 trailer looks nice. I mean, I remember Heist 1, and that seems like a pretty big upgrade. Except for that overworld stuff. I don't know that I want to do that.
Okay. We got this was very strange. Some company was marketing around a remake of Little Big Adventure Twinson's Quest, which is a very old game that I played when I was like on my first computer. You might recognize the main character as he was this little blue guy with a little like ponytail out the back, and it was kind of an open world style game. And I know that the owner of the IP was actually looking to do a remake, and I had a story a little while back about how like they just couldn't get interest or funding or whatever. Well, this week we got a trailer for a remake that looks exactly like what they were trying to do. So I guess they managed to find some kind of funding to remake this old it was kind of a semi-open world kind of isometric action adventure game, and it was one of the earlier ones. I remember playing it because it was like, oh my god, I've never seen such a giant sprawling world that I can just walk around and do whatever, and you can do like kind of kung fu and throw this little power ball at stuff. So Yeah, kind of interesting.
That looks really fascinating. Like, and I see exactly what you're talking about. That like older style of like kind of action, kind of adventure.
It's one of those things,
but not the way you would do it today. But very like appropriate to an older generation, a previous generation of gaming.
Right. Yeah, it reminds me of Michael and I were playing the Beyond Good and Evil remake this week, and I've never played Beyond Good and Evil, and I was like, when did this come out? And it was like, oh, I get why this is a thing, because you can go between different areas, and you've got the picture mechanic, the combat mechanic, the story mechanic. Like, it's a lot of things that had not yet become standard to all be married together, where this was like one of the first, one of the examples of this becoming the norm and being really impressive when you first saw it. So we also got a reveal this week for Cattle Country. This is a little Stardew Valley, but it's like a Western. So you get to build yourself a little Western town, little pixel guys. It looks very Stardew Valley. The trailer has an Old West twangy guy talking about, it's a small town and it's a small life, but we blah, 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 blah. And maybe you can square dance with your sweetheart and go mine a rock in the cave. And here's a rodeo. And I'm like,
bull riding mini game.
So, apparently this is big for the crowd that likes these sorts of games. Is just, they're down for whatever. Like,
there's been a lot of like Stardew like games that have popped up recently. I wonder what that says and what it will look like for these games, because it's not like they're live services, right? Like these games, if they're good, they can be good, but it does seem like I just feel like I've seen a lot of specifically Stardew Valley, like very fucking Stardew Valley.
Yeah. This is very Stardew Valley. So, the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Look at that AI. Go back to that AI thumbnail at the end. Sorry, very big AI like generated image of like their key art. That's the other thing I've been seeing a lot is very obvious AI art. Maybe not in this one. Maybe I'm hyperbole. But
you think that's an AI? I don't know. That looks. Could just be a bad artist. No. What are the markers that make you think it's AI?
I wonder about the little characters, the way their hands are going, and the lighting is not exactly right. But it doesn't look wrong in the way that AI would do it wrong. So I'm like skeptical. But I have seen a lot of AI art, like especially on the PlayStation Store.
Really? Oh no, that makes sense. Well, speaking of weird shit you might see on the PlayStation Store, so I'm starting to really like. This is a game called. Okay, let me show you this trailer. This game is called Clickelding, and it's like you're in this hotel room, and this weird looking guy tells you to sit in a chair. He says, "You know why you're here?" And he says, "Click it," and then your character brings like a little, like, when you're counting the number of people going into a thing, and it says, "Click it again," and you click it again, and then he says, "Keep doing it," and then like at a certain point he reaches behind his chair and pulls out a gun and says, "Keep clicking," like, and your character is just frantically clicking this little thing up. This is from the guy that made I Am Your Beast and El Paso Elsewhere and Oregon Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator. He's also the guy who Xavier Nelson, I believe is his name. He was the guy last year that made that tweet that blew up about Baldur's Gate 3 and how this shouldn't be the norm for game development. He's an indie game dev, and I've been really digging. Like, El Paso Elsewhere, I liked it a lot. I Am Your Beast that got announced at Summer Games Fest, I really liked that game a lot. Like, we played the demo for it. I really liked it. So this guy's kind of on my radar, and this is like one of those. He makes these micro budget, strange video games, and I like strange video games. So this is coming out, on the 16th of July. I wonder what the weird sockhead creep with the stains on his shirt and the gun in the dark hotel room. There's got to be something going on in this game outside of just clicking this thing over and over again, and I kind of want to know what it is. Are you dubious? You seem dubious, Bryce.
Well, yeah, I'm a little dubious. Okay, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
There's so much, like, honestly, right now, I'm trying to withhold my power level right now. We don't need to get into the chair that I'm sitting in, but like, it's doing a very specific thing, and I don't want to say I want to, and I'm looking forward to seeing it because then that leads into more of it. But this is, okay. Clickholding.
Clickholding. Yep. Weird stuff. All right. Well, we're now out of time. We made good time, but now we're behind. Let's run through these real quick. GOG put up the original Resident Evil. Well, slightly upgraded, but like original audio, visuals, all that stuff. It has been difficult to play the OG Resident Evil for a little while, especially on the PC. So they put out a version on GOG that has basically modern controller support, runs on Windows 11, runs on Windows 10. It's got all the original soundtrack and mechanics. It's not been like super duper duper upgraded, but it's just a way to get access to that version of the game, not the remake, not the old remake, but just the original Resident Evil. So
does Capcom get involved with that stuff, or is that just something GOG is able to do, to just say we're GOG and now this game is going to work if you buy it from us?
I mean, I think that Capcom has a long history of just re-releasing the shit out of everything they've ever made over and over and over again to cash in on it. So I think that this is probably one of those things where GOG went to Capcom and said, we can re-release this.
Put the hack into it. And
let us throw it on our emulator and put it out there in a way that people can buy it. You'll make some money. We'll make some money. Everybody makes some money. You don't have to do anything. The end. It'll be like Street Fighter, the movie. Palworld is almost certainly coming to PlayStation. The Palworld developer had a tweet where they were like, the hearts, it was a gray heart, green heart, white heart around the word Palworld. It said, I want to add more hearts, but not sure what color to add. How about? And then they put like blue hearts around it. So that's like Steam, Mac, and Xbox, and then the blue for PlayStation. No dates on that yet, but almost certainly coming to PlayStation soon. Bryce is having something about this.
I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out how to make a thing where they're racist because they didn't do a Nintendo port, which would have let them do as a red heart, and then it would have made like the Palestinian flag colors, but still blue. And they really missed a chance to make it like, this is the pal world. Hey pals.
Oh,
our pals.
Oh.
And there's something in listener. This is a DIY joke. You've been given all of the elements. Email in what
you make your own joke. You do the work. I'm tired. Thirsty Suitors is coming to Netflix games along with Case of the Golden Idol. Case of the Golden Idol should have been the top of that. I think of all the games that could work on a Netflix streaming platform, Case of the Golden Idol is perfect, right? You don't need any responsive anything there. You could totally do it. So
it's not, but Netflix stuff is not streaming. These are just mobile ports. These are just apps. None of Netflix's games are like Stadia.
Oh, I thought they were all like Stadia.
No, they're all like mobile games.
But if I go to Netflix and I hit play, it just starts streaming the game.
Wait.
I think. God, close.
Okay, but yeah, you're on some like YouTube playable fucking thing. I mean, I guess they have some of those, but everything that they talk about with Netflix gaming is their apps. Like you just download Into the Breach on the App Store and log in with Netflix. I mean, I guess they do have something that they stream here. Oh, you're in like a beta thing, but
I think they're using it for some of the stuff. I think they're using it for some. Yeah. I don't know if they on mobile maybe they download it, but I thought the whole point of them putting games on was so that they could stream them using the same tech that they used before. So
I guess I've never logged in on a desktop client like this to see this beta where because you're right, it does. You just can play. So I guess they have a selection of games that are streamed. But my understanding and having had covered them for a long time, primarily these were just apps like Apple Arcade or Google Play Pass. You would just download and log into them. So
I don't know.
Yeah. What the fuck is Thirsty Suitors? No, never mind.
Thirsty Suitors is the dating game. It's like where you play as like an Indian lady who comes home, and then all of your exes are trying to get with you. But it's also like an RPG where you're doing battles where you're seducing and going back and forth. There was a whole thing that was in development for quite some time. So,
Okay.
let's see. All right, we got the next game from Big Mode. This is Video Game Donkey's publishing house that they set up that did Animal Well, and their next one they teased at the end of their video about E3, and it's going to be called
Providence.
Star of Providence, yes. And it appears to be some sort of like kind of roguelike shmup where you're in these small arenas doing kind of like a twin stick shooter type of thing. I don't know. This seems a little bit less interesting than what Animal Well ended up being, but it could be, a game like this is one of those things where it's like, man, I got to get my hands on it. I won't know until I play it whether it's fun or not. Like, it could be extremely fun, or it could be, because it seems like it's like not a very broad appealing game. It seems like a very specific niche to appeal to. So
The way that your ship moves is really interesting in just these little clips that they've picked, because it moves and it rolls almost as if you were controlling it like what was that old Vlambeer game, the one where you're fighting and it almost looks like
Luftrausers.
Yeah,
where it's got like a momentum, but then you could turn with your momentum to like go in a different direction.
Yeah, it almost looks like that, or like a 2D version of what's the Sixth Degree of Freedom game that's legendary, and you're like a
Descent.
Descent.
Yeah,
like it almost kind of looks Descent-y more than that. So I'd like to see what this is, because just that little bit has got me having some questions. And like Animal Well, there's something in there that's like cool. This is interesting.
Yep. And that's
did you like Animal Well? Did you play Animal Well?
I played it. I kind of knew what it was, and I didn't really want to go down that hole. Like I played a little bit of it. What I played was good, and it was like one of those, like, I don't know, every year I take certain games that hit at maybe slightly the wrong time, and I kind of put them in a list and go, at the end of the year when I'm bored and everything is out and I've beaten all the stuff that I'm really psyched for, these are some of the things I'd like to go back. Last year it was Hi-Fi Rush and RoboCop. I both didn't have time to play, and then I went back and played them, and I was like, oh no, these are both really good. So this is so silly. Farming Simulator 25 was announced. It's got a collector's edition that has a little USB ignition lock on it that you put on your desk to start your tractor with. So you plug this thing in via USB, and then it comes with a pair of keys, and you put the keys in the thing, and then you can start your tractor. The implication here, Bryce, what would you like to start? What app on your computer would you like to start with a set of keys via USB ignition lock on your desk?
Okay, it actually would be interesting if I could do that for Gran Turismo. I would actually be into that. It was like change cars. All right.
Yep.
Like, okay, maybe there's something there. But Farming Simulator. Okay.
Yes.
I thought this was going to be like a DRM dongle. Like, includes a USB key.
Yeah, two-factor authentication to play Farming Simulator. You know how many people get hacked every year through Farming Simulator? Hundreds. Atari 50, which was like, Atari 50 is adding 30 games and a bunch of new timelines in October. This Atari 50 was, did you ever see the making of Karateka, where it was like half a documentary thing with like interviews and stuff, and then half playable? This Atari 50 was made by those same people and was like that, where it had like interviews and stuff. Apparently is very good. And they're adding...
that crew does a very good job.
Yeah, they're adding a bunch more stuff later on this year. So, including some little anniversary editions.
Some good news for Atari, huh?
They've had a couple of good things. They had that one weird crossover game where the games would mix, and it was really interesting. It was called like Atari Flashback or Atari Remix or something, where you played as like a janitor in the Atari museum, and there was like a weird black ooze that was meshing Atari games together. So then you'd have to go play like Yar's Revenge meets like Donkey Kong or something, like in the weird crossover Atari 2600 game, and it ended up being like a WarioWare style thing. It was very weird and well received. So
okay, there you go.
Frostpunk 2 is getting a delay for a couple months. Instead of July 25th, it's coming September 20th. And the response from the developer is that they had some feedback from the beta that they really wanted to incorporate directly into the game because it seemed like good ideas from the community. Shocking, I know, but Frostpunk definitely seems like the sort of thing that you'd like to put out with its best foot forward as opposed to half-baked. They literally said that like they don't want to put it out and then have to make dramatic updates that change the way that it plays. So
yeah, and I was looking up to see like who's publishing it, and I guess they're self-publishing it, which is good because it lets them the ability to do this. I mean, part of me was thinking it was like 2K, and they finally learned, or Calypso. Like they're like maybe we need to put out games that are right.
Yeah. You know what? Let's just do these real quick because we're already way over time. Somebody's making Super Mario 64 run on a Game Boy. It's not great, but the fact that they're able to get it running, it's not even like a cheat. It's actual 3D running on Game Boy hardware. It's kind of interesting. It's very rough, but it's at least kind of an interesting proof of concept.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you could tell that they've had to do work on like the textures and some of the geometry. I like the goofy looking Mario.
His arms do not swing very well. His arms are just out, and then they swing like horizontally back and forth, and it's very weird looking.
He's doing a president's fitness test.
Yes. And then last but not least, somebody made a really cool Super Monkey Ball controller that's kind of cool. This is like they took a mouse and basically glued, like they made an actual ball that they put a 3D print of the Super Monkey Ball monkey in, and then they put it on these like little rotors, and at the bottom they put like a mouse, like the ball from a mouse, so that they could basically control Super Monkey Ball on this thing. And it's not like totally the best, but it's pretty clever. It makes me wonder why there weren't more like weird Super Monkey Ball. Like we had Donkey Kongas and we had DDR pads, and like why not a monkey ball? Why not an actual licensed monkey ball that you can use for Super Monkey Ball?
Yeah, and this looks really cool. You totally could have done like an arcade cabinet of this.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so clever.
So, and with that, we're done. We are a little bit over. Bryce, why don't you tell the people where they can find you when you're not over here helping me go through the news?
Yeah, check out marbles.win. We are back with LFG Marbles. It's our live audience co-op community racing game on Twitch. We're on Saturdays now, so I'm going to hop off this and get ready for the stream in just a little bit here. But join us on Saturdays, 6 p.m. Eastern. This is a good thing to know. I changed the times. I changed the times this season, so now I'm still trying to remember. It's 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays, twitch.tv/Brightkiss, or go to marbles.win. That's the website. It's got all the information there. Thank you.
Yeah, go check it out. And then, I don't know, patreon.com/RageSelect. Please, it does take time and effort to make the podcast happen, and we do that, for you, the people. So if you can afford to, I would appreciate it. Otherwise, I think it's my nap time. I think we're going to close this. I'm going to go take a nap. So everybody get out of my house. It's time for naps.